How's everybody doing tonight? This is Chopping It Up Hardcore with Hal Capone, number 43. Tonight, my special guest is Antonio Leiriao. He was in the State Secedes, I Am the Resurrection, Maracate, Usurp, Synapse, Thin Fevers, ran and owned his own record company, Funk DJ. He's done it all. Super amped to talk to him. Can't wait to get into all those amazing bands. I was a big fan of a lot of his bands that he was in. We'll talk about all kinds of things. We'll talk about Fuckfest. We'll talk about all kinds of stuff. Happy Mother's Day. Antonio, I'll see you. I'm going to link up with you right now. There we go. Like I said, Happy Mother's Day. Anybody that's suffering through, hold on, suffering through, oh, here we go.
What's up,
Sorry.
man?
Hey, what's going on, Antonio?
What's up? Sorry, I gotta find a way to set this up. Like, I didn't think about this shit before I.
From a Mexican magazine called Nexos. A report made a big splash, and then
Hold on one second.
All right.
Media outlets.
Alexa off.
Later, the authorities started compiling their own excess mortality figures, which, to Mario and Marianne's relief, was similar to the figures that our pair of data detectives.
Hold on, I'll be right back.
Yep.
And they were pleased that their endeavors.
Antonio, I'll send you another request in a second. But like I said, anybody suffering with allergies, I'm dying today. My eyes have been so itchy the past 2 weeks. It's killing me. Today was rough. I just want everything to bloom and get going and stuff like that. It's been horrendous for me. So anybody out there suffering with allergies, I feel you. And like I said, Happy Mother's Day to everybody. We had a big brunch today, big breakfast. I think I gained like 10 pounds today. So just waiting for him to jump on. He's getting his camera set and stuff like that. So there we go. There we go.
What's up, man? Yep.
What's going on?
Not much, man. Just chilling. Just watch the Knicks game. So
Nice. Yeah, I missed the Celtics game today. I went to brunch with my wife and kids. Had a big brunch. So
nice.
Awesome. I usually watch the Celtics. Are you a Knicks fan coming from? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Big time.
They've had a great year this
year,
surprisingly.
Awesome. Yeah, they'll fuck it up, man. Come on, it's the Knicks.
Yeah, but they're fun to watch at least.
Yeah, they are. Actually, they are fun to watch. Yeah.
They're fun to watch. I want to thank you so much for taking time out to do this with me. I really appreciate it. Like I said, Sunday is people have me time on Sundays, and I appreciate you taking time out.
Man, it's an honor actually to be asked questions about bands you're in that you actually never thought anybody would give a shit about. So the pleasure's all mine.
Well, I mean, I still listen to almost every one of your bands still all the time. So, I mean, I think a lot of people still do too. And
thanks, man.
Like I said, I've been jamming State Secedes for a while, a long time.
Thanks, man.
And I Am the Resurrection, I jam that all the time too. That off minor I Am the Resurrection split is just like epic to me. It's like it's a real tight split, I think.
I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think that one both bands really work well together on that split for sure. It just, for some reason, it just, those two bands, it just works on that split. It just, obviously if you listen to your own music, you don't, you're very critical. So I don't really go back to listen to too much stuff. I just remember thinking like, oh, that's a good fit. That really works with the two bands. So thanks. I mean, yeah, I tend to think that it's a good split as well. But again,
Yeah, it's almost, I think like that might be my favorite off minor stuff. That and Heat Death is probably my two favorite things that they put out. So
yeah, I mean that band was incredible. I mean, Maracate was lucky enough to link up with them on our European tour and their European tour, and we did a lot. We did a lot of dates together, and I mean, yeah, man, they're an incredible band. Yeah, for sure. I mean, Jamie's good. I mean, everybody in the band is an incredible musician, but yeah, Jamie's guitar playing is just ridiculous to me.
Yeah, Jamie's incredible. Andy, and on top of that, he's an awesome dude too, as well.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's a fantastic guy for sure.
Usually when I first start out, I usually ask, what started you liking punk and hardcore? What kind of got you into it? Were you into like other stuff before you found punk and hardcore? I know you grew up in New York.
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of got you like started?
Honestly, skateboarding scene, straight up. Like that's where everything we listened to everything. We listened to, you know, all the stuff that was coming out on Long Island at that time, like the golden age of hip hop. So like De La Soul, you know, EPMD, you know, Public Enemy they were making records like basically around the corner from where I grew up in Hempstead. You know, the Bomb Squad studio was like, I mean, it's basically my hometown, Rockville Center. You cross a bridge over a highway and the Bomb Squad studio is right there in Hempstead. So like, it was like so it through like it was a mixture of hip hop, punk, like thrash metal. You know, like we never really thought about that they were different genres. You know what I mean? We didn't look at it like that. Like whoever brought the tapes, like whoever had whatever tape, like, you know, if you had a, you know, Cool G Rap and DJ Polo, and then somebody else had Slayer, like, yeah, we're gonna skate to both those records. We think they're fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And then that's how it happened. Like, you know, somebody brings a 7 Seconds record, or somebody brings like a Minor Threat record, and you just hear something, and that's what sets you on that path. You know, I remember when I heard Minor Threat, and I was like, you know, I knew nothing was ever gonna be the same again when I heard shit like that. I was like, that's what it was, so, you know, so raw and like visceral and like angry about, you know, and it speaks to you when you're young. Like that's the kind of stuff. So through skateboarding was really like that was where my punk kind of, yeah, like path began. But it was like a mixture of things. It wasn't just that. Like I had like a metal phase and shit when I was a kid, and
yeah,
you know, a lot of metal shows, but you're always listening to stuff like, yeah, like some Minor Threat and things like that. That was all like JFA. Things like that were fundamental to, you know, those Skate Master tapes that came out from Thrasher, like all those like Thrasher, like skate rock tapes, like that was part of it too, if you had that. So that's kind of where it all kind of came from, you know?
And what kind of geared you towards like being in a band? What did you go to a show and it was kind of like you wanted to be in a band after you went to a show, or?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, you were like, you saw bands and you were like, I want to be you know, you wanted to be that dude too. I mean, you wanted to be up there, like you want, you know, you're down in the crowd and you're just kind of like, I think I could do that. You know, I think I could do that. But you know, I went to a lot of shows and I was a big fan and stuff, but I didn't really think I was going to ever be in a band until really like pretty much when Matt Gordon and I really started talking about it, because I didn't think anybody really took me seriously as wanting to be or was going to be in a band, because I had no track record. I hadn't been in any band, you know. They're like, what? We never even heard you sing or scream. Like, what band are you going to be in? And then when Matt and I kind of linked up, like that's where he and I kind of were like, no, we are going to start a band, and we're going to call it this, and we're going to do this, and we have like a plan. And like, you know, Matt kind of was the guy who like, he took me seriously. Not that other people didn't take me seriously. Like Bob took me seriously, States at Sea, Bob, Miles, the people in the band. I just think that people didn't know, like, you know, I don't know. It just was weird. It was like, I had no track record. I didn't have like the shitty punk band that you had first, you know? I didn't have that. Like States of Sea is my first band. Like it's straight up like first band. Like, so yeah, nobody saw me playing like some weird pop punk band and was like, yeah, you know, he's all right. You know?
Yeah.
It was just like that. So it was weird.
Now, were you a Tetsuo and Edgar fan? Because and that they kind of ended, and that's how you guys all hooked up, or?
Yeah, and also, you know, Tetsuo and Edgar are Oceanside bands. I grew up in Rockville Center, and that's next door to Oceanside. So like, there's like a kinship there. That's like, I ended up pretty much being from the Oceanside scene, because Rockville Center didn't really have a scene. It had people that were in the hardcore scene, but it didn't have a scene. Oceanside had a scene. You know, there was a bunch of bands, Edgar Tetsuo, like a bunch of other bands that I forget at the moment. Obviously, Closure came out of there.
Yeah.
A lot of good bands, like, and a lot of people lived there. And there was, you know, Bob's House was a venue. So I ended up just becoming part of the Oceanside scene. You know what I mean? But yeah, like, I forgot what your question was. Shit. Sorry.
Well, basically, just what those two bands kind of like when they
Yeah.
ended,
Oh, yeah.
that's
Right.
kind of how
Sorry.
States of Seed kind of.
Yeah, I mean, technically, without those bands, no States to see. It's like, that's the thing. Like, really, not just because of who played in those bands, it's the timing of what happened with the Tetsuo reunion that basically was the window for States of Seeds to begin. Yeah, I'm not saying it wouldn't have happened because all the people involved were really down to do it. I'm just saying that, like, that practice when people were trying to start Tetsuo again, like, that caused us to, like, start then and there, you know? So it was just, the conditions were right. Like, the conditions were right at that time for that band to, you know, to come about. And like I said, no Tetsuo and no Edgar, really, the play, there's, you know, what, 3 or 4, well, if you count Miles for the reunion, I mean, there's 3 or 4 people in States of Seeds that were in both Edgar and Tetsuo. So yeah, instrumental to my taste in music and my future music endeavors. Yeah, for sure.
So when you first got together, was it 98 or 99? Because I know the.
No, man, States of Seeds is like 96.
Oh, that early? Oh no.
Yeah,
Kidding.
States of Seeds starts in like the winter of either 95 or like 96. It's like, but somebody here might be able to. Bob's our official, you know, like, historian, so he always has the correct numbers. But it's somewhere there. It's like, because I remember we played a Pittsburgh Fest. We played that Tompkins Square Riot Fest, and that was in like March of 1997, maybe.
Oh, that's right. Because I saw you guys in '98 at the Tin Can Full of Dreams Fest in Worcester, Massachusetts.
That was a fun fest, man. That was real fun.
That was amazing. Yeah, like that had some of my favorite. Devola played Murdoch. I'm a huge Murdoch fan, so like you guys played Rome's Dream. Seisha played that fest was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, like, Devola, Murdoch, that's like family. That's like States of Seeds, you know, Closure, Murdoch, Devola, Seisha. Like, that's all like brothers to me, like family, you know what I mean? Like CR, like that's CR, yeah. Those people are all like, we were all very tight, like, that's so, yeah, man. I mean, I love Murdoch too. They fucking rule. Her jazz is fucking amazing.
Oh yeah, those guys are great too. Yeah, so good, so fucking good.
Yeah. Dude, so that blows me away.
So did States of Seeds and Usurp, you guys both toured with Race Banding, right?
Yeah, I mean, dude, you know how many Race Banding tours
I know, like, it's crazy.
Like, this is like organic, like, this is like, I don't know what it is, but there's like this kinship with Indiana bands and New York bands, and Race Banding is like at the top of the list. Like, everybody, you just always touring together. Like, but yeah, so the first tour, not the first tour, the tour to support the States of Seeds LP, that was a tour with Race Banding. We played the Usurp house on that tour. That's how we met Usurp. And we were on the same record label, Level Plane.
Yeah.
So I think Greg Drudy kind of like set that up, like, go out there and play with Usurp because they're on the same label with you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it was kind of like that. That's how we met them. So we met them at their house in Lafayette. They lived in Lafayette, Indiana at that time. So the Greenbush house, which had a very creepy cemetery in the backyard. It was real fucked up. Yeah, so that's how we met them. And then, yeah, I mean, then I was basically always on tour with Race Banding. Like, whatever project I did. And by the way, that's awesome.
Yeah.
The more times, the merrier. Like any race band and rules, they're awesome people, and yeah, I didn't mean to sound like dismissive of them at all. Though I mean, I'll do all the tours with race band, and that's
Yeah.
completely. But yeah, we just ended up touring a lot together, you know. So
Yeah, that's amazing. I that's one band that I never got to see live, and
really,
I regret it. Yeah, I've seen like almost everybody, and I never saw Race Band, and it was just maybe I just timing was wrong or whatever, but I never got to see them. And the videos I see of them live is just I'm so bummed that I never got to see them because they had some crazy energy, you know.
yeah, they were. I mean, they're incredible band. I mean, Mike Anderson's such a good frontman. Like he's just so good. He's so charismatic and energetic. Yeah, they're phenomenal. And the cool thing about race banding is they were always changing. I mean, they were staying race banding, but like, you know, when you went on tours with them, you saw slight changes of what they were trying to do. And it was really cool because they were always trying to like do different shit, you know, like I remember like for a while, James had a theremin and, you know, they were mixing with, they were messing with like, you know, like tape edits and stuff, like live tape edits. So they were really kind of like trying to, you know, stretch out of what they were. It was cool. Like it's a very cool band for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Now with the States of Seeds, just that Level Plane album, was there any songs that you guys recorded other than that? Because I mean, being a band for so long and just having such a small catalog of songs, was there anything you guys worked on before you guys broke up? Or
Yeah, I mean, there's a lost song, but nobody can find the tape to it. But seriously, like, yeah, for a band that was around for like maybe like 5 years, yeah, the entire like catalog of our songs is that LP. And there's one other song. It's called "This Is How the World Ends," but nobody can find the tape to it. And some people remember how to play parts of it, and some people don't. It's just one of those songs that, without like a reference tape or something, I don't know if it can be recreated. I remember some of the lyrics, but I don't remember all the lyrics. But it was an awesome song, and we played it on our when we were supporting the record on that tour. It was part of our, you know,
your set?
every night. Yeah, so we played it a lot, and it was a cool song. And I think I didn't know what plans we had for it. I mean, you know, maybe like a split or something. It never really got to that point. But yeah, we had basically one more song. But you know, the thing about States of Seeds is there's actually a lot of songs that aren't documented because there were so many like kind of like parts that we would do, like for lack of a better term, jammy parts in between songs, and we would switch things up. So there's like a lot of like, if you listen to two different States of Seeds sets, like I guarantee you there's going to be there's going to be different things within those songs that we had changed or we were doing something different. I'm talking about musically.
Yeah.
As far as lyrically, you know, maybe we would fuck around with it, like maybe we would like sing on it, but you know, a lot of it was instrumental. But so there are no extra songs, and yet there's like a bunch of shit that like is different on different live sets, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, we did a lot of improvisational stuff that was kind of like part of our thing, you know? Yeah.
And you guys, well, I remember getting the CD, and it had a lot of the, you know, you guys had a big booklet and a lot of political stuff and stuff like that. Do you think that was kind of went over people's heads? I talked to Matt about this kind of. It was just like, you know, like young kids, it's kind of just, you know what I mean? Like, do you think it kind of just went over people's heads? And now, like, when you're older, you look back and you're like, all right, this, like, you know, it kind of resonates a little bit more.
I mean, yeah, I think it was over people's heads. I mean, it was like a ton of information. It was like, I think people were just like, what the fuck is this? You know, like I gotta read through this entire booklet. But yeah, I mean, you know, I've had people comment to me, which is very kind, that they really like the booklet and they really like the kind of propaganda and stuff behind the band. But yeah, I mean, like handing it like a kid like that, like, I mean, it's asking a lot. Even though, I mean, you know, I'm not trying to have my hubris get in the way. Like, yeah, like definitely like too much information for a kid at like a punk show, maybe. Sure.
And what was the thought process behind all that? Like, who came up with that? Was that you and Matt? Was it?
Well, technically, I'm supposed to tell you Shinya does all that. So, like, you know, that Shinya came up with it, but we executed it according to his plan. So that's how it went about. Yeah. Yeah.
So when State Secedes ended, how long after did I Am the Resurrection come into to play?
Well, State Secedes pretty much ended right after a little after the summer tour in '99. You know, I think there was a bit of a, you know, some people didn't want to give up on it, including myself. But then it got to the point where, you know, we just had to say, like, this isn't going to be a live band. This isn't going to continue. There was just too many problems. And it you know, those problems just were, at that point, we just couldn't get past them. So I'd say that conversation probably happened in September of '99. And, you know, Resurrection started in the winter of 2000. So like, I mean, like the cold winter of 2000, like January, February, like
Yeah.
cold shit up in SUNY Purchase. Like it was just like a snowy, you know, mess. Like, so, but it was cool because, you know, you were just, it was the middle of the winter, or the you know, the early winter, and like you just kind of were like up there sort of wood shopping on that stuff, and like we were alone, you know, we were just alone. We belonged to that SUNY Purchase scene, and we didn't belong to Long Island hardcore anymore. We didn't belong to New York hardcore anymore. So we weren't beholden to anything. We wanted to make music that was like what we thought the next thing we should do is. You know, we had an idea. We had a chip on our shoulder. We we wanted it to be brutal. We wanted it to be cathartic. We wanted it to be, you know, revelatory. I've said all of this before, but it's time and place. We were in like we were just cloistered in SUNY Purchase. We had no scene, and we didn't have to answer to anybody's scene politics, you know. So we just did our thing, and we put the demo out. The demo got dropped off at Sound and Fury in Manhattan, the famous punk music store, record store that's not there anymore. And that tape was played there, I guess, by the staff, and they called Level Playing, and they were like, "You got to hear this shit." And that's how it happened. Like, people heard the demo, and like, I don't know how it spread as fast as it did, because we didn't make that many demos.
Yeah.
But people knew about that band like super quick. Like, people were asking us about it. Like, I remember we went to see like a bunch of us went to see like Arab on Radar, like Lightning Bolt, and I think Red Scare, like at some warehouse in Dumbo, and like people we knew were coming up to us, and they were like, "Are you guys in that I'm the Resurrection band?" And it was like really weird, because it was like, how the fuck did you hear that? Like, we only dropped one copy off in the city. Like, it was just weird. And then so Greg hit me up, you know. I think it was Greg, or it could have been Steve. It actually may have been Steve from Off Minor, who was like, "Hey, we heard this shit. We want to do a split with you." And I think we had heard Off Minor, so we were cool with it. But we were, you know, I mean, those are our brothers. That's Secedes people. Like, how are we not going to do a record with them? Like, you know, I mean, that's just like Secedes and State Secedes to me is like peas and carrots. You know what I'm saying? Like, just, you know, just, yeah. I mean, we were just down, and we were flattered that somebody would ask us to do it, because it was super fast. You know, that it just came out, and you know, we already had a split record, and it wasn't. I mean, we're talking maybe like that was like March or April. The band had been together like 2 months. So yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it went fast up here too, up in New Hampshire. I lived in Massachusetts, but was like right on the border of New Hampshire too. But pretty much I've been living in New Hampshire most of my life. And I got that record really quick after it came out, and I was like I said, blown away by it. Because I don't think I had really heard too much Off Minor before I heard that split. And like I said, those two bands together on that record is just like really fucking epic to me. Like, I love that album still so much. Always jam it. It just goes well together too. Like it just blends together. Like both bands just work. You know, some splits just don't work. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
but that one does for sure. And I was always wondering about that band because like there's not too much information about I Am the Resurrection. You know what I mean? I know Miles was in the band, correct?
Yeah, Miles was in the band.
Adam Dooling was in the band as well.
Adam Dooling was in the band. Yeah. Jarvis from Woods was in the band. Eric was in the band. He played drums. Graham did tapes and noisy guitar, like just feedback guitar noise. He was like the noise guy. Yeah, Adam Dooling, Jarvis, myself, Miles, Eric. That's the original lineup. Yeah. And Josh on organ. Sorry, my bad. And Josh on. Sorry. Yeah. That's the original lineup. That's the record lineup. And then, you know, I left the band to join Usurp and stuff, and then the band morphed into, it continued on as a band, but I mean, it morphed because it got different members in it. So like Jeremy from Woods, you know, played drums after Eric. So it was like, you know, there were other people, you know, in the band after my time. But if you're talking about the record lineup, that's the record. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's all you guys recorded was just that demo and the record, and that's. And like I asked before, there's no secret songs.
There might be from the lineups after me. There could be. I don't know what that even sounds like. I don't remember. I mean, it didn't have anything to do with me at that point in time. So, you know, I don't know how I feel about when you ask me about Resurrection. I can only tell you about the I Am the Resurrection that I was in. You know, the stuff that, you know, once I left it, I don't know what it became. You know, I mean, I saw them. I thought it was pretty good. But I don't remember. It's so long ago. But yeah, I mean, I saw them play like without me in the band.
Yeah.
And they did have different songs. So I mean, maybe there's extra stuff. I don't know.
And you were juggling like Usurp and Resurrection for a little while, correct?
Oh yeah, I don't know how I did some of the shit I did. I mean, I spent so much time like on the road and like in the van, and like I had like a full-time job. This shit was like, I mean, I don't know how I did it. Like I'd be driving out to like fests in the middle of like Pennsylvania, and then like trying to get home so I could like work at like 7 a.m. and stuff. It was just like craziness. I would drive like out to Ohio to play like More Than Music Fest. Like, you know, I'd drive to Indy to record some stuff, and then I'd be back in New York, and I'd have Resurrection stuff, and it was a lot. I mean, it's awesome when you're busy and you have a lot to do, and I try not to take that for granted because that's how things work. You either have nothing to do or your plate's like completely full. It's just like it was untenable after a while, you know, like it was just like I just couldn't do it forever. And you know, nothing against Resurrection. I love the band. I think it's an amazing band. I'm very proud of the music and being in the band. But I felt like Usurp was just the better option at that point in my life because they just were. It was just I hated New York, and it was like killing me. And it was just a good opportunity, and I loved the band. So it was just kind of like I had to choose between my two loves, and it just kind of sucked. But you know.
Yeah, I mean, how it's like you were stretched thin too. I mean, going back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah.
I mean, it's understandable, definitely.
Yeah.
Like
it was rough, man. I mean, I was trying to do both, and yeah, I mean, there's just only so long that you can do that stuff. And I just had a good opportunity, you know. I saw like I just saw like the way I looked at Usurp was just like it was just, you know, I had an opportunity out there. Everything worked. Like everything matched up, you know, all the signs came together. I was like, I have to do this, you know? So, yeah.
When you went out to Indiana, did you kind of fall in love with the area? Is that kind of why you were, all right, this is my place to be?
Yeah, I actually always felt that way when I came here. I was like, when I first, especially Indianapolis, when I came to Indianapolis on some road trips, and I would just tool around, like take the van out and like just drive around. And I was like, oh man, I really like this area. You know, I could really see myself living here. And yeah, it was very comfortable. But you know, the other thing about in Indianapolis is I was very fortunate because, you know, I had the, you know, it was like a baked, I already had like a group of friends here. I had my, you know, the Race Band people, the Usurp people, Chris from Witching Hour. I just knew like a ton. I just knew like a lot of people. So it was a foreign place, but it was also very familiar. So like it made an easy transition to moving because at least I had like a group of friends already. I wasn't alone, you
Yeah.
know. But yeah, I did fall in love with the place. I mean, I don't know if I'll ever leave. Especially the area I live in is amazing. So I love it.
Now this is the story that you were the van driver for,
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden they kind of wanted to switch it up,
yeah.
and John wanted to do more like synth stuff and vocals, and it'd give him a little more time to do and that's how you kind of came in.
Yeah, man. I didn't even think I was friends with Usurp. I had a van. They hit me up. Like, I think Don called me one day or one night, and he's like, "Hey, man, do you think you'd want to drive like us on tour with Jerome's Dream?" And Race Band was not mentioned in this, by the way, at all. Just as an aside, because it's kind of a funny joke or a funny story after that. So I was like, you know, I hated my job. I was completely burnt out, and they, you know, they were going to offer me, you know, they offered me money. It was fine. Like I'll take the money, but I basically I was like, I'll go. I want to go on tour and not work this fucking job. So yeah, so that's what happened. I just picked up Jerome's Dream in Connecticut. Jerome's Dream and we drove to Indianapolis. We picked everybody up, like loaded up the van. And yeah, I was the van driver. I was just the guy that they hired. Like we were all friends. I knew Jerome's Dream. I mean, you know, from Secedes, we were friends. We all knew each other. But I mean, I was just straight up like the van driver on the tour. Like, and then somewhere in like South Carolina or North Carolina, yeah, there was like a conversation about like, hey, we want to kind of switch it up and maybe add a second singer and see what this is like. And you know, John wants to do more of the synth parts and doesn't want to. I think that was the thinking. You know, it's a while back, but yeah, and I was like, yeah, I mean, I love your fucking band, so yeah, I'll definitely join this band, like, sure, because you know, Usurp was awesome. You know, I was a big fan before I was in the band, so
Yeah.
yeah, so that's kind of how it worked out. It wasn't exactly something I really thought was going to happen on that tour, and obviously that made things weirder when I got home too, because you know, Resurrection was, you know. It was going, you know, like it existed. So, I mean, I had the master's CD of the split with me on that tour, and I played it for everybody, and they were like, "Yeah, this record is fucking good." But I remember I had the master, so that record must have been at the plant or going to the plant pretty soon.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was, yeah, it's a busy time.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
So how were those first couple shows when you first played with Usurp? Like how did they go for you?
It was a little rough. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, the timing structures of Usurp songs are very complicated, and if you don't hit things right, you're gonna miss them. So it's like very, you know, you have to understand the minutia of a lot of their songs. You know, it's a very Usurp's an awesome band, but if you like listen to how technical the band is and how how proficient and like, you know, there's a lot of talent there, and when you play with them, it's very hard to, like I said, get in sync with things. And if you miss something, you miss a beat or you miss like some hit, then you're done. Like you're off. You know, so it was really hard to play. And I'm not gonna. It was a master class of like kind of learning how to play that specific style of hardcore. You know.
And did you, like, obviously energy wise and you know them being as wild as they were live, did you kind of have to match the energy that they were putting out too?
Yeah, but I got no problem with that. I mean, all the bands I was in, we had energy. That I mean, I'm from New York. Like New York hardcore, like seasons you like to be a certain way. Like nothing's half-assed. Like they play it for real. You know what I'm saying? And we always saw that. Like you have to be intense and you have to mean it. Like I was thinking about this the other day. It's like, you know, I can't think of like a New York band that like, I mean, I can, but you know, especially around the areas that I grew up and stuff. I mean, the intensity of hardcore, and you learn that shit when you're young. Like you like learn it from, especially in New York hardcore bands. Like that doesn't go away. That's like in your DNA. So like everything's got to be like. I think you know, we don't, like I said, we don't play it, we don't do it half-assed, you know? So no, there was no problem. I mean, I was happy. Yeah, the energy was up and I was happy to match it. You know, why not? This is awesome, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did those tours go? How many tours did you actually do with Usurp?
I did the full US tour and yeah, maybe not really much because the band really, after that US tour, the band didn't really tour much. I played a lot of festivals with them, like one-off festivals through, you know, like Wilkes Bar, and I can't remember all the ones. There were a lot. There were a few of them. More Than Music. The band didn't tour after the U.S. tour. The only thing I can tell you is we went on that fucking nightmare of a road trip to Fuckfest in Bedford. I mean, that is a story. In and of itself, it's insane.
Well, when you say that, I'm pretty much the only one that has ever documented that footage. You see it all over the internet though, because my buddy Brian had a VHS tape and he sent it all over the place. So you can say, like, everybody has it. But I was the one behind the camera to that, and like I would love the story because when I was in the crowd and I was recording behind Travis. The story was that the cheerleader was actually a prostitute that you guys found. That's the story of the crowd. I don't know if that's true or not. But
I
I don't know if you can confirm that, or you don't have to answer that if you know.
I'll just pass on that one.
I don't.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'll pass for sure.
But I mean that fest was incredible. I know that it was kind of a weird trip up there. Can you just talk about that a little bit, because that fest was so good? I don't know if you guys made it the day before because you guys played the second day, but Books Fly and like As the Sunsets played the first day.
Oh, we got there on the first day because I remember seeing Miles outside at Books Fly. I remember Books Fly was still there, so I saw Miles and Adam from Books Fly. So we must have got there the first night. But we got there. It was just a doomed. It was like everything that could go wrong went wrong. Like the entire trip. Like we left in the middle of the night thinking like, I mean, night driving is better anyway. Like you're going to get, you know, you're going to get more
less traffic.
Less traffic. It's easier to do. But we got up to like near Erie past Cleveland and it started to snow, like snow I haven't seen. And I mean, it was like biblical shit. Like there was so much fucking snow that like we were driving and you couldn't see anything. And I was like, we can't keep doing this. Like we're going nowhere. So we ended up staying in like, we stayed at like a rest stop all night. And then in the morning, like the snow kind of had cleared up. And so we're already behind schedule. And then, yeah, I remember Tony gets a speeding ticket on the way there. We get pulled over by the state troopers. He gets a ticket. I mean, on the way back, there's even worse shit too. We get there and like the money's not right. Not that we were about the money, but we were promised a certain amount. And you got to understand, like Indiana to Boston, I mean, that's a haul and a half.
Yeah, definitely.
And like to do it, like I don't know. We were just like kind of pissed off because the money wasn't right, and we were like, well, we agreed on a sum. So anyway, that was fucked up. You know, crazy shit happened at the fest. I remember like Zach from Force Play Glass, like I think he got thrown out of that hall. I remember that some band smashed through the ceiling, and the people there were like so upset, and like smashed a mic stand through the ceiling.
Yeah.
And like the people there were just like not having it. It just seemed like everything that could go wrong. Things kept going wrong, you know? And then on the way back, like the wheel of the van, like basically comes off. It's basically hanging off because the bearings fucking broke in it. So like you can't like we basically could have the wheel could have like flown off the van. Like if we hadn't have stopped to check it out at a gas station, like I think we would be dead because the wheel would have probably popped off on like either a turn or something on the highway. So then they don't have they're not going to. I think that might have been like a Sunday or something. So they weren't going to fix the van, so we had to stay overnight at a motel till Monday. That cost us money. The van broke. It cost us money. And then on the way back, like somewhere on the way back, in upstate New York, I got a ticket. So I mean, the amount of money that went into this thing, it was a fucking nightmare. But we look back on it. Everybody in the band, everybody in Usurp calls it Big Weekend. That's the joke about it. You just call it Big Weekend, and everybody knows what you're talking about.
Now, was that just a one show that you guys drove up? You didn't play the shows. You just drove from Indiana to New Bedford, Massachusetts, and then drove back.
Well, no, we stayed with our friends in Jamaica Plain. Like we had our friends from California lived in Jamaica Plain, and they put us up. So we stayed like the first night, the second night with them, and then on the third day we headed out. That's what it was. But yeah, we did it it was just for one show. So you can imagine how mad we were when we got there and like people were being real shifty about the money that they had promised. Like I'm not going to name names, but you probably know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It was like not cool at all. So we were a little upset for sure. But I thought we tried to put on a good show,
No, you guys definitely put on a good show. I think they had like fucked up mics too for a little of your set too, which was like they were going in and out for you guys and stuff like that. I remember the kid smashing the mic stand through the ceiling. I think that band's name was Harmony Set that played. And
okay.
And yeah. I do remember.
Sounds familiar. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was the set, and I didn't know about Zach getting kicked out. I know a few people had gotten kicked out.
Yeah, but, it was weird. I don't want to misspeak on something because it was so long ago. I just remember like the people in the hall, they just weren't having it anymore. Like kids were getting just too wild, and like, I mean, you could just tell that the people who were running it, there was tension there, and I was like, oh man, I think this might boil over at some point,
Yeah, I do remember them bitching about like everything. They're all worried about all kinds of stuff. I remember them like, I don't know, they're just running around being very frantic about the show. And that fest was packed too, and outside it was fucking cold as hell. It was February and it was freezing cold. I remember, like really cold that day.
Yeah, on the fucking water too. Like the water was across the street. I was like, God damn, it's fucking cold here. Yeah, it was crazy. That was wild. Yeah.
I wish somebody else had documented that though, because like I said, my footage is kind of grainy and it's been so long. I had a Sony camcorder in my hand. But I haven't seen any pictures from that. I haven't seen any other videos from that. I wish like some people would come out, because I saw other people with cameras and shit like that. But like I said, I don't know. And the lineup was good that night too. It was Neil Perry, Joshua Fit for Battle, Crestfallen played that night. That you guys played, Purity's Failure. There was like a bunch of good bands on that day. You guys played last.
Yeah, I remember like hanging out with like the Neil Perry guys. I remember going over to the Hassan Isaba house for a while, like to chill. And they had like some insane party over there. It was just like, I don't know, but yeah, I mean, like a lot of people were there that we knew. Like it was a lot of like, it was cool in the sense that it's always good to see all those people, but like it was a cursed trip, a cursed journey, and a cursed weekend. It was just, it was just insane. Yeah. But those are the things you look back on, right? Like that's the singular stuff. Like when it's all said and done, like those are the things that like you bond with people for life. Like there's only 6 of you or 7 or 8 of you that went through that. Like nobody else. And that's beautiful, right? Like no matter how fucked up it is, it's still like a beautiful thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's a really funny story 20 years later, and that's what's important. Not the $1,000 or whatever we lost. Like it's the funny story. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Now, when Usurp kind of ended, like, did you like how how long was it until Maracate kind of came in? I know like
Uh,
Usurp kind of had like a little stale ending. We don't have to get into that, but like
yeah,
how?
I mean, I don't know. You know, when bands break up, to be honest with you, when bands break up, like it's shitty no matter what. Like there's not. Yeah, did it Usurp end well? No, it didn't. It didn't really end well. But like, does it ever really? I mean, when the band breaks up, it breaks up, and it's shitty. You know, there's a lot of like hurt feelings, and there's a lot of like, animosity, and that's why you broke up, right? Like you can't get along anymore. So yeah, don't worry about like the stale ending stuff. Like, I don't really harbor ill feelings towards people from that band. It's too long ago, you know. Um, so anyway, when Usurp broke up, I started a band with a bunch of other guys, Chris Williams and a few other people, Jeremy King from Upheaval, um, Bill Palon from Khmer Rouge. Um, uh, yeah, so we started a band called Long Live the Romance Morgue, and we did that for a while. We did a few tours with Race Bannon. I'm sure you guessed. And then I left that band because it just wasn't really my style of music. Like it was like they were like they were incredible. It was so much fun, that band, because everybody got along so well, and it was kind of a party band. It was like a party screamy band, or whatever you want to call it. And we had a lot of fun in the band. It just really, the music wasn't really what I wanted to do, you know?
Yeah.
And I didn't know what I wanted to do after that. I had been in so many bands, and I had been doing it for so long. And I was working at a record store, and I was just like listening to records and like digesting records and new sounds, and like just kind of like putting all the pieces together about, you know, music and things. It was becoming far more complex than, wanting to be in a screamy band again. So, yeah, I wasn't doing anything. I was working at the record store, and I was just kind of like doing that, and like collecting records and like collecting soul 45s, and like really kind of getting into that genre of soul and funk, and especially Indianapolis soul and funk. And yeah, so Brian Wyrick from Maracate, he had been my former roommate. He called me up at the record store, and he's like, "Hey man, you want to go to Europe?" And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, look, you fucking kidding me? Yeah, yeah, of course I want to go. Like, what's the deal?" And he's like, "Well, Josh can't do it, and we already booked it." And I'm like, "Yeah, fuck yeah, I'll go to Europe with you guys." So like, that's how it happened. He called me up. Josh couldn't do it, so I was like, "I'm not going to pass up that opportunity." So I didn't, and I was really comfortable with it. I really liked everybody in Maracate, and I got along with them really well. I knew them very well. So I felt like, you know, slotting into that role in that band, I didn't feel like it was going to be that hard. Sure, I had to learn like the lyrics and stuff, and obviously the songs. But as far as like personalities, I felt like, if you're going to do 6 weeks with people like that, I felt pretty confident that I was going to be able to do the 6 weeks with those people. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Nice, nice. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
I knew that you jumped on that Euro tour, and so
yeah.
how many rehearsals did you have before you kind of went to Europe?
No, I
Did
mean
you rehearse a
honestly,
lot?
I mean hon- honestly, I don't remember doing 10 rehearsals. I remember maybe doing, yeah, we maybe did, yeah, somewhere underneath 10. It wasn't very many, man. Um, so yeah, that kind of like fell out of the sky. That wasn't really something that I had planned on happening in life. It just was one of those gifts that you sometimes get, because I remember getting off the plane, and I was standing in the airport in Germany, and I was like, this this is crazy. Like, it was cool because I had just come off like, two bands had, that it just had ended poorly, and it just wasn't great, and there's a lot of self doubt. And like when I was standing in the airport, it was just kind of surreal. I was like, damn, like you know, I'm in Europe in a band, so it was kind of just a very like self, like, I don't know, it was good for the soul. I'll say that. You know.
And how was the European tour? Obviously, Off Minor played with you guys a bunch, and the now
I mean,
Denial, and a bunch of other
yeah,
bands like that. Like, how was
fucking
the tour?
ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's spoiled. I think it's spoiled all of us. Like when we got back to the States, we just didn't look at touring in the States the same. Like what we had just been through. You know, they treat you so much better in Europe. They actually there's a lot of people give a shit and they go off and they have like a really fun time, and it's super exciting and it makes you feel really good and it makes you feel like an actual like working musician. Um, but you know, it spoiled us because when we came back, I felt it was yeah. But I mean, going back to the tour, I mean, the amount of bands we played with is, I mean, that I look back at, we played with Rain, La Quiete. I'm trying to think. I mean, yeah,
You guys played with Yager too, didn't you?
yeah, we played with Yaga, yeah, Off Minor like a ton. I mean, yeah, Life Detecting Coffins. It was incredible, man. I have no other word that I mean, it was incredible. It was awesome, super fun.
When you guys got back to the U.S., did you play shows in the U.S. as well?
No, we did on the way out. So what we did is we packed up the van with just guitars and stuff. So we needed backline and everything because we didn't take backline with us because we were going to get that in Europe. So all we had were guitars, you know, some drums, and just like the basic shit you need to just to add to your backline when you get to Europe.
Yeah.
We drove out from Indiana, and we did shows along the way, all the way out to New York, and then like we played ABC, we played CB's, we played another show in the Long Island area, and then we dropped the van off with my friend out on Long Island. My friend Chris from a band called Cypher, he watched the van for the whatever 5 or 6 weeks we were gone. And when Brian and I stayed in Europe after the tour, and the other three members of Maracate went home. So we hung around in Europe for like another week or two, and then Brian and I flew home together. We picked up the van in Long Beach out on Long Island, and then we just drove it back to Indianapolis. We didn't even stop. We just drove straight. We're just like, we just got to get home. So, but that's how it was. Yeah, it was just like a marathon. But yeah, we just left it on Long Island, and then we just picked it up again.
Yeah. How were those New York shows that you guys played? I mean, was it kind of like easy going, like just a good transition, like starting to play shows with those guys before you?
Yeah, I found it easy. I found it easy to slot in with them. You know, I listened to the CD a lot, and then I just kind of, you know, I don't know how I can't. So I stuck to the script, but I went off the script a little bit and changed up some of the stuff for how I thought the song should sound.
Yeah.
So when you see the Maracate DVD, like I know there's differences in how I sing the songs, but that's just because I mean you got to take artistic license or whatever. You got to be able to do your own thing a little bit. So that's what I did. So they sound a bit different, but the structure remains the same. I definitely kept a lot of Josh's lyrics, but there's several times in a few of the songs where I just switch it up because, you know, I kind of wanted to do my own thing too. I didn't want to just do somebody's, you know, I'm sure Josh would appreciate that anyway.
Yeah,
like,
definitely. That's,
you know, so yeah, that's kind of how I did it. But yeah, I mean, they were like really good friends of mine, and like, I mean, Brian and I had lived together at that point, you know, on and off for 3 years. I knew him really well, and obviously, you know, I knew the other three members pretty well. So yeah, I thought I slotted in pretty good. I didn't really feel like ever that it was a bad fit. I thought it worked out really well. I thought we were really good. You know, I thought the performances on the DVD, you know, I am definitely like, I don't like to watch my own stuff. I don't like to hear my own voice. I'm too critical of the music I make, but like, it looks like fun. It sounds okay. The kids are going off, so it must not be bad.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I look at it. If the crowd, you know, if the crowd's real into it, and they were most nights, yeah, it was cool, man. I mean, we added a ton of shows. We didn't want to take a day off, so we had all these days off on the tour. But like, we would just be like, "Hey, off minor, can you just ask if we can play?"
Yeah.
And like shit like that. We didn't want to have a
Yeah,
day
you
off.
just wanted the ball to keep
We, just
rolling.
like a, we were like a fucking machine. Like it got so tight during that tour that I think yeah, we don't. It was just like clockwork at the end of it. I mean, we were so in tune with each other and our timing. It was just crazy. So good. Yeah.
I've seen the DVD. I don't have it. Do you know if, like, anybody that hasn't seen it, do you know if that's available anywhere, that anybody
Yeah.
has that could buy it or whatever?
It's on YouTube. You just look it up. It's called Maracate. Congratulations on your impending geography. That's the title of it. And it's about an hour and 20 minutes, I think. And it's edited. It was shot and edited by Brian Wyrick, the guitar player of Maracate. And I think I chimed in here and there about this and that. So
when you guys got back, did Josh came back into it, or like how far did those guys go after you guys came back?
oh, the band was gone. It was dead. It was over. The Maracate tour was basically it was there was a release by Heroin Records he's from Italy, and they had put the complete Maracate discography out.
Yeah.
So that tour was basically, to fill an obligation, like to do the right thing and like tour in support of that CD.
Yeah.
No one in the band hated each other or anything like that. There was no, the band was just, the Phoenix Bodies was already a thing. I mean,
Yeah.
Colin and Truck were already making Phoenix Bodies like CDs on the Maracate tour. So Phoenix Bodies was in full swing. So Maracate wasn't going to be a thing anymore,
Yeah.
So when they got back, they didn't really play much. I think they played a few shows here and there, and then they played the Dude Fest, their final show, and that was it. And then obviously the other parts of Maracate that didn't become Phoenix Bodies became Thin Fevers.
Yeah.
When
you joined.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So like, yeah. So Thin Fevers. Yeah. Like when Maracate broke up, Ben, Brian, and I were like, well, we're starting a new band, and Colin and Truck have Phoenix Bodies. We're gonna do Thin Fevers. So it's just like kind of basically split down the middle, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. And Thin Fevers was kind of a different style than you were accustomed to. What kind of thought process was that on like the style of music that Thin Fevers was?
Well, we were listening to a lot of like like kind of like disco-y punk stuff and like death rock things, Killing Joke, even like some In Excess, and like we're just like sounds like, obviously like the Factory stuff, but like mixed in with like a more like, you ever heard like the first like Certain Ratio record, like that Do the Do, like
yeah, I don't think I've heard that.
like yeah, like so it's like it was like more like funk punk kind of, but like dark,
Yeah.
So yeah, like Killing Joke, I would say would be a good example of what we kind of were about.
Yeah. Speaking of Dude Fest, I heard that you made this flyer that I have.
No, I didn't make that flyer.
Oh, so on Instagram,
You know who brought-
you made the second version of it or something.
You know who made that? Bruce made that. Matt Messina made that. I almost guarantee it.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Somebody said that you made it on Instagram. That's why I was like, oh, I have that flyer.
No, it would just be like, if I made a flyer, it would no one would like the flyer. Believe me. It would look like a garage sale sign. No lie. That's what it would look like or a lost cat sign. That's what people would mistake it for. You know what I'm saying? Like it just it looked like shit.
Going back to Usurp real quick. When I posted our talk, Travis had said that he had bumped into you a little while ago, Travis Chance, at a bookstore maybe. Right under that thing, he said, and tell homeboy I said what's up or whatever.
Yeah, I don't remember that. Yeah, I don't remember that, but could have been. You never know.
Yeah. I mean, are you friends with any of the guys from Usurp now? Are you talk to them still, or?
Yeah, just talk. John and I talk. The other singer. I don't really keep up with anybody else. I know they're all spread out across the country, but yeah, I try. John and I, yeah, have had a relationship for most of the time after Usurp. My little record label, Small Ham Factory, actually released one of John's projects called No Ritual, which is amazing stuff. But yeah, John and I are still tight for sure. But yeah, I don't. There's been a lot of years in between those relationships, and that's how it goes. Sometimes you just don't keep up with people. The further the time gets away, it just.
Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
bands are you the closest with the friends? Is it like the Secedes guys or?
I see the Maracate guys. Like, I mean, Ben and Brian from Maracate. I mean, I ride bikes with them like every week, if not more than once a week. So I'm like super tight with those two guys, and yeah, I mean, all the New York family. I mean, all the States of Seeds guys, all the gospel guys, all the Helen of Troy guys. Like, we all talk a lot, you know. So it's like that whole family thing's never gone away. Like, that's never really going to change. Like, there's this, yeah, the States, Helen, gospel, Resurrection, yeah, all those people, Book Slide people, like, yeah,
Yeah, now
people.
do you miss New York or?
Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, that's where I'm from. I mean, I miss. I was talking to a friend the other night, and I mean, just like I'd probably like go through a brick wall for like a Long Island bagel with like tuna salad on it or something, or like a real slice of like Long Island pizza, or like a Manhattan falafel, or all the things that are like, yeah, they're just things that you're not really gonna necessarily find in the right. They're not in the right context here. They're recreated, but they are like fabrications. They're not the real thing.
Yeah.
So
What
yeah,
was, what was the last time you were in New York?
2019, right before the pandemic hit. I actually really lucky because I mean it was like October 2019 or like November 2019, so it was like real close to the window.
Yeah,
So
they locked down everything.
yeah, I actually went home to see the Misfits play at Madison Square Garden. That's why I went home, because they were doing like that last.
Oh yeah, wasn't the like the
The Halloween.
Cro-Mags played with them, and was that the Suicide
Nah,
Tendencies in that one?
no, it was like Rancid.
Oh yeah. All
It
right.
was like Rancid, Misfits, and I don't know who else, but yeah. So it was like it's supposed to be like their last MSG show, and um, I could not go to that. It was on Halloween and shit. So I mean, it's at Madison Square Garden. Like, how am I not going to go see that show? I'm going to always be the guy that says no, I didn't go to that show. Nobody wants to be that guy. So yeah, that's why I went home. But yeah, man, I love New York. I mean, if I had my druthers and if I had the money and I could live where I wanted to on Long Island or in New York, I'd love it. But the fact of the matter is, it's just too damn expensive. And I kind of like, a little bit, the Midwest kind of pace. So yeah, I mean, I miss New York. Like, it's my heart, that's where I'm from. It's like
Yeah.
at my core, but sometimes you have to make decisions that are better for you, in the long run. Plus, I mean, yeah, I hate to say this, but like it's like a $200 flight that's 2 hours away. Like,
Yeah.
I can visit whenever I want, and I can kind of do my thing out here too. The world's changed a lot. You don't have to really. You can kind of choose where you want to live, and I don't know. Like, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of going around the long way on this, but yeah, I mean, I love New York, and like I said, if I had my druthers, yeah, I'd live there in a heartbeat. But it's expensive.
So when you were a kid, were you a kind of like a metalcore mosher guy before you kind of got into the screamier side of things?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, everybody goes through that. Like, it's like how you see like yeah, like yeah, of course, yeah, baggy jeans and like wearing a chain on your belt, and yeah, you're wearing a snapcase shirt. And, yeah, hell yeah, I was that person. There is no doubt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had a similar background too. I mean,
Oh. Yeah,
growing up with like Converge and Cave In when they were like really really heavy, and I'm like, I'll be 50 in January, so I started going to shows. I was lucky enough, the first show I ever saw was SSD and DYS and Angry Samoans at the channel when I was, get this, it was an all ages matinee. My cousin's friend took me that was like 16, had his license. I was scared shitless. He's like, oh, just go to a punk show. Somehow my mother let me go, and I saw that show for the first time, and I was amazed at the energy. I loved it, but I was scared shitless afterwards, and I didn't end up going to shows for another 4 years. Like when I got to be like 15, and I felt like, not that I thought it was going to get killed or anything like that, but it was just scary as a little kid, like 11 years old, seeing something like that.
It's fucking crazy, dude. Like, that's crazy to be an 11-year-old. Like, I mean, what, like, that's wild that you even went to that show. Yo, I actually hate you for seeing that show, by the way. No, I'm just kidding. That lineup is just ridiculous. Yo, was the you know, I lived in Boston for a few years, so I actually know a little bit about the history of like Boston, some of that Boston hardcore shit. Was the channel the club that was out on the pier?
Yeah, it was like the river was right behind it, and then in the back there was a big post office building, huge, and it was right next to the Necco Wafer building that was on the right. That might have been closed down at that time. I don't know if it was still running, but there was a big Necco Wafer, the candy sign, on a brick building, like right to the right of it. It was a huge parking lot with the river, like literally it was on the river that goes, you know.
Yeah, no, I know. Somebody actually pointed it out to me, but they were telling me stories. I used to work with like an older hardcore kid. You know, I don't know, maybe not. You're not much older than us, but he just had been to a lot of shows, like Boston shows, and he was like, "Yo, the channel was like the most fucked up place. Like you could, like, there were like stabbings and shit out on the on the pier, and like all he would just tell me crazy stories. Like,
yeah, it was wild. But the greatest thing was, it was like Seabeats. It was like Saturday and Sunday matinees, almost every single Saturday and Sunday, and it started at like 1 and go till like 10, and it was always a stacked lineup, because I saw, you know, I would see a lineup like Burn, Youth of Today, you know, Sick of It All, and Biohazard would play in one show, or something crazy like that. So I saw Agnostic Front there. I saw Sick of It All in their heyday. I saw Youth of Today. I saw Sheer Terror when they, you know, first started. Murphy's Law. I actually have a video that I taped from. It's Murphy's Law with Mighty Mighty Bosstones playing with them. Like Murphy's Law does the first like maybe 4 songs, and then the you know, the brass section comes in, starts playing, and then Dickie Barrett and Jimmy G start doing that
Jimmy
thing
G.
together. Yeah, so.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, that probably was fucking amazing. I mean, the energy of that show probably was insane. Like, people must have lost their minds. Like,
Yeah, it was packed in there, and that place packed in too. It was like millions of kids and stuff like that. And then, like always, it was like kind of turned into a lot of violence started happening.
Yeah.
And then the channel kind of faded away, and then the Rat kind of faded away too, because the Rat was another famous
famous
place.
too, for sure.
I saw a bunch of shows there, but it was like, you know, I got jumped at the Rat, split my head open, I had to go to the hospital, broken rib and stuff like that. But it was, I mean, whatever. It is what it is, you know. I don't hold any.
That's hardcore. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
That was fun. I mean, that was going to matinees. Like, yeah, you might get your head split open. You might like get your lip bust. You might get your tooth chipped. Like, that was how it was. Like, you didn't know what was going to happen to you. That was kind of the interesting part of going to matinees, like CB matinees. Like, when I was like a teenager, yeah, like you can get fucked up, you know. So,
yeah.
And the LES wasn't what it is now. I mean, it was like real, you know. So yeah, I mean, that was part of hardcore. Like, I'm sorry you got your head split open, but also like,
yeah, I mean, it's you know,
hardcore
battle scars and
the hardcore. Yeah, were they having shows at the Middle East? Or
yeah,
were they doing any of that shit?
Yeah, pretty much like Middle East was right almost. I started going to the Middle East right around when the Rat kind of folded and they closed up shop. Then the Middle East was pretty much the place to go all the time, and they would have shows at the Paradise too in Boston, but that was a bigger venue,
I know where.
Kind of.
Yeah, That's like right next door to like In Your Ear, right? It's on
Yeah,
Commonwealth, right?
yeah, it's very close to like Fenway and stuff like that.
Yes, I think it's on Com Ave, right?
Yeah, ComAv, that's right.
I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, those back in the day shows were good, and I always say New Hampshire always had great shows too. Up in here, you
That's,
think of New Hampshire, and you know, a lot of people don't think they had a scene at all. But Rochester, New Hampshire, that's where I saw
oh,
Reversal Man for the first time. I saw Assuck. You know, obviously Cave In and Converge when they first like started playing shows and stuff like that up around there. Just it was a big community of hardcore kids up in New Hampshire. So a lot of
yeah,
people think New Hampshire doesn't really have a lot of kids into hardcore, but it was quite a bit. You know, Manchester, New Hampshire had a lot of shows too, and Concord, New Hampshire. So,
yeah.
you know,
I mean, anybody who was at shows in the '90s knows about New Hampshire because they saw the Queers like 400 times. Like we knew there was a scene up there because we saw the Queers like all the fucking time. So yeah,
now,
you, you
did you ever play New Hampshire in any of your bands?
uh, well, States of Seeds played in Vermont. I remember that, and we went through New Hampshire. I don't think any other band played up that far. No,
No, so you didn't play Maine either, right?
no, we played Burlington with
Bro.
Drift from Canada. Yeah, they were on tour with Drift. Yeah, so because we basically met up with Drift down in like the kind of the south, you know, like I forget where it was, like Philly or Maryland, somewhere down there. And we did that leg of the Drift tour back all the way up to the Burlington, and then they crossed back into Canada. That's how the tour went.
Somebody said matinees where you could find Krishna and crystal meth in the same room.
I mean, yeah, that Brian, that's actually, yeah, totally true. Yeah, for sure. Especially in like Manhattan, for sure.
I mean, Boston was right. You know, they're not. You know, they're probably the same thing in Boston for sure.
I know. I mean, I know the Boston scene is real. I mean, you know, for sure. Like, Boston's a pretty fucked up place. I believe it. You know, so
Yeah, I was like huge into some of the Boston bands back then. Like, have you you know Sam Blackchurch, right?
yeah, I remember. Yeah,
That they were like always great live, and Slapshot. You know, once uh, Choke kind of got into Slapshot, the earliest Slapshot stuff. You know, back on the map and stuff like that. I was huge. I was a kid. I loved that stuff. I still kind of like that older Slapshot stuff too. But Sam Blackchurch was always fun to watch, and Wrecking Crew was also like big back in the day here and stuff like that. So
yeah.
I had a
I,
question though. I had a
yeah,
question.
yeah.
Screamo. What do you think of that term?
It doesn't bother me. I mean, it doesn't bother me at all. Like, it's just the combining of the two things that already existed, like screamy emo. That's kind of how we used to. It went from screamy hardcore to like screamy emo or emo scream. I don't know how it got mashed together. Like, no, I don't really have a problem with that because I mean everybody's trying to define shit. I guess my problem is that like once you get into too many subgenres and sublabels, it's just like it's annoying. It doesn't really define anything anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that's what I
So
mean.
yeah,
Like
you got,
Screamo's so broad now. Like you don't like you could get, you know, a super commercial band that somebody says a screamo, and then somebody's like, "Oh, you like screamo? I do too." And then you name the bands that you were in, and I, you know, went and saw, and they have no idea who the fuck it is. You know what I mean? So it's such a
no,
broadened genre now that like, and like I said before, when States of Seeds, when I was watching States of Seeds and Usurp and stuff like that, that term wasn't even a term. It was just a hardcore band or punk band. So
yeah,
I didn't hear that
it did.
until way later.
Oh, well, it was around. I mean, it was definitely around in like the later '90s. I don't exactly know where it popped up, but it definitely popped up like at a certain time before like 2000 for sure. I remember like things being defined as screamo, and I think I don't remember where it came from, but yeah, I do remember it being a thing, like it popping up. Yeah.
Now what do you think of the word scrams?
I can't stand it. I detest it. I think it's like you know what it reminds me of? Somebody. It sounds like somebody's tag. Like they should be writing scrams.
Yeah, graffiti
Like
on the wall.
yeah, they should be tagging something up with the you know their nom de plume is scrams. Like that's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like a graffiti writer's name. Like I can't stand scrams means it just sounds dumb.
Yeah.
Like
I
those
didn't even know what it was. Somebody said like, "Oh, these." I read like some scrams bands, and I'm like, "What the fuck is that?" I was like, "I never even heard that." And then
yeah
now
like
all of a sudden it's like the word. I guess I don't know.
yeah I don't know what it is, but that like those words put those letters put together just make a stupid word. Like it sounds fucking dumb.
I agree. I agree.
But
I mean,
it doesn't sound bad as a graffiti writer's name. So
yeah,
it
yeah,
might work in one instance, but it's for my for the genre that I identify with, that I made music for. Yeah, it's a dumb word.
yeah. And I don't mean to offend any of the younger,
No.
like that. It's
Same.
we're a different age. It just sounds silly to me, and
Yeah.
it just. But I'm not trying to offend any of the younger, like, because I love a bunch of new bands, and some
Yeah.
of those guys use it and stuff like that. I'm not trying to offend anybody, but me
Um,
personally, I can't stand the word.
yeah.
So
I'm 100% with you. I'm not here to insult anybody, and you do you. And if that word works for you, I just it makes me feel like the music I made is like silly, and I don't really like silly when it comes to like what I identify with that I made. Do you know what I mean? It just
yeah.
sounds dumb. Yeah, Scrams one, exactly. Like that's what you should tag it up, right? Scrams one. Yeah.
Uh, so as of right now, do you miss being in a screamy, heavy band?
No.
Not at all.
No, not really. That's a young man's game, man. That's all I gotta say. Like I did my time and I put the work in, but like let a younger man scream in a band. I'm good. I mean, I would do it in like I remember Billy saying like last week, like under the right circumstances for the right cause. Like if you knew you could make money for somebody and like really help them out, yeah, I would definitely do that and like for the right cause. But like I don't really have a passion for that anymore. And I mean, I love that style of music. I'll never not love it. It's part of me.
Yeah.
I don't feel like making it anymore. And like I said, it's let other people make it. Let other people try new things. And what is the Yeats quote? Like, I knew a phoenix in my youth, so let them have their day. Like that's how I feel about it. Like I I had my phoenix in my youth. Like I'm good, you know.
Yeah. Now, is your record label still in? Is it a thing still? Is it?
Put out a Wenches record, which is the new Race Bannon band. I don't know if you've heard it. It's called F and Gnarly. That just came out. You can get that's. I mostly do tapes, so I usually do like just one run of tapes, and when they're gone, they're gone. So I usually do 125 to 150 tapes. Like usually a third of the press is a special color or has an extra song or do something interesting with it, and then the rest of the press is just like the normal color. And I try to do about 2 or 3 releases a year. This year will be heavier because I've got a bunch of split projects with like Sunken Temple and Tokyo Fist.
Mm.
So that's definitely gonna we've got a gospel record coming out and like a bunch of other stuff. So it's gonna be a real heavy year for like my label and those 2 other labels. But yeah, it's active. There's a New York band that I've got coming out. There's a gospel band I've got coming out, and a few other surprises that like, I don't really want to, reveal at the moment.
Yeah. Now what do you think was the resurgence of tapes being put out now? Because I see so many people putting out tapes right now. What do you think was the big resurgence of? Because personally, like I see a lot. They look awesome, but I don't even have a tape player. I think a lot of people don't have tape players. So like I'm trying to understand where the resurgence of like tapes are coming from now?
It's just a cheap vehicle to move the music to somebody. It's like it's so much cheaper than pressing a vinyl record. So like it's just that the way I look at it honestly is it's like you're basically buying the barcode, you're basically buying the download code and getting this cool tape with it. And if you have the ability to listen to it, then cool. But you're basically supporting the artist by buying it as like a, you know, it's a novelty to some people. I don't find it a novelty. I listen to tapes. But yeah, it's like a means of selling the actual download card that comes in it, and then they get something cool that maybe they want to listen to. On the flip side, like I take tapes seriously. I don't think they're a novelty. I think they're interesting, and they're very, you know, somewhat disposable media, but and they don't age well, but they're cheap and they're easy to mass produce, and it's a good way to get bands out quickly to people. It's a fraction of the time to press a cassette nowadays. I'm sure vinyl is in a terrible state because of petroleum and things, because of the pandemic. And I know that supply chain is definitely going to dry up at some point, if it hasn't already. So yeah, it's a cheap alternative to kind of get music out quickly. And you could just like vinyl records and stuff, you could do cool things. You can make limited ones, and you can do all the neat things that you do with, you know, records, like, oh, I got the yellow one, or I got the splatter one. You could do all that with cassette shells. It's just like people just don't know what to do with them, you know. But God, there's so much. I mean, for the cost of maybe putting out one 7-inch record, you might be able to get 2 or 3 different bands' tapes out. So that's how I look at it.
Yeah. Do you think CDs are a dead thing now?
I know certain DJs that like hunt for CDs because, you know, they're essentially WAV files on the CDs. So like, you know, they're better than MP3 audio. So there's a lot of people that I know personally that are looking for old CDs, like especially old hip hop CDs. Like some of my DJ friends, they like when they come up on that stuff, I mean, it's like gold, because those audio files they're so much better than shitty MP3 tracks, you know, files that you're going to get.
Yeah, definitely.
Overall, will CDs come back? Probably not. I mean, I don't believe so. I think we as a society are reevaluating media, and sometimes that's for the fortunate and for the unfortunate. I'm a big collector of records and stuff like that, and I do like physical products, but you know, at some point, none of this stuff is necessary anymore. You don't need a CD anymore. You don't really even need a record anymore. I'm really surprised at how like records took off mainstream. It's strange to see like girls buying Harry Styles records and shit like that. But I mean, I don't fucking know, right? I mean, that's not for me to really say, but like it's weird, right? Like it's just strange. Like a Styles double LP, like who the fuck needs that, right?
Well, that's I mean, Walmart's selling Ride the Lightning albums now, made by Walmart. I'm like, Jesus Christ, like what? How? Like, I don't know. I mentioned CDs because I'm a big CD guy, and I've been diving into like Discogs like crazy, because I sold all my vinyl, and I might have saved maybe 50 or 60 CDs, and then I miss all the music, and I miss the booklets, and I miss like all the stuff that comes, like reading the lyrics and stuff like that. Sometimes you go to Bandcamp or something like that, and it just it's not the same feeling for me. So like this, I just got this a couple weeks ago, this Murdoch CD. I fucking missed this CD so bad, and I was taking a deep dive on Discogs, and I saw it, and I was like, I gotta have it. I gotta have it. And this thing still had the stickers in it too. Like
I still have that. I haven't listened to it in 22 years, but I still own it. More probably, you know, I just tucked it away because, you know, the friendship's there. I mean, I love the band, but I don't think I was ever going to listen to it again. Oh, by the way, my buddy Jim Nash just joined, and I should say that Jim Nash is like, he's like one of, if not the reason that I started going to like Long Island shows. Like Manhattan shows, we were going to like Fugazi and shit like that. We were going to like the big shows. Like we were, we would go, but Jim Nash is the dude because he's the one that started to take me to like Bad Trip and like VOD out on Long Island, or like the
like
North
Mind
Port.
Over Matter and Yuppie Side
Yeah,
and
like,
stuff like
well,
that.
he was to all that shit. Like, so when he went to Archbishop Malloy, which is in Queens. We were from the same town, but he went to Archbishop Malloy in Queens, and so he was like, he knew like a lot of those cats that were going to Bond Street, and he was going to Bond Street, and he was like, yeah, he was like into Yuppicide and like Mind Over Matter and like all the wreckage shit, and like we were out on Long Island, and like we didn't really fuck with that because we didn't go to those shows. We just kind of went to like the Discord shows and like. And that's cool too. I mean,
Yeah.
we saw Fugazi a lot, like in high school. We were like, we were down, like we knew what was up. But those little shows, those like micro scene shows, like we just weren't going to those yet. And he was, so he knew about like all that shit, and he was the one that like got me into going to see those he got me into that scene, like, and so I just saw he was in here, so I just wanted to shout him out because he's definitely the homie that definitely got me into that stuff.
Yeah, Millhouse for that those kind of bands was, I love Millhouse. Obscenity in the Milk is one of my favorite records of all time. So
yeah, man, yeah. I mean,
and Artie is just like, I don't know, just as a frontman, I love Artie. I like the fucked up shit he says sometimes, and like I don't know, Millhouse is just like really really one of my favorite bands, like in that around that area.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, yeah, they're great. I mean, they put out a split with the legendary 52X. So like, if you know anything about the 52X, I mean, Millhouse and 52X was just meant to be together on a split 7-inch. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, definitely.
It couldn't be a better pairing on Long Island for a split. I'll tell you that.
That's awesome. So I don't want to keep you too long. So
No, I got time, man. You just keep whatever. Yeah.
Usually like towards the end, I like do a little rapid fire questions for you.
Sure.
That's what I usually do. So my first question to you is favorite New England hardcore punk band for you.
Converge, man. Easy.
My second question, what was the first punk hardcore show you attended?
Punk hardcore show?
Yeah, that you attended when you were a kid, teenager, whatever.
Like what? So, I mean,
the first one that was like kind of like, I guess, changed your way of thinking. You know what I mean? Maybe you were like an Ozzy Osbourne fan, and then all of a sudden you saw this hardcore show and you were like, holy shit. What was kind of like the first one that really had an impact on you?
Yeah, probably like a Bad Trip show on Long Island. Like when I saw Bad Trip, I like loved them. So Bad Trip or like VOD, like any of those Long Island bands that were like, they played like all the time, Loyal to None, those bands like that, where I was like, oh, these guys aren't like famous. They're not famous at all. Like they're just like, they're doing it. Like they're people from this, like they weren't like on a pedestal, you know what I mean? When I saw that, like I was like, this is, like I could do this feasibly,
Yeah.
So yeah, any of those like foundational, I consider those the foundational bands because they were around like early on, like Loyal to None, Vision of Disorder, I mean, Tatsuo Edgar, yeah, like I said, I wasn't going to a lot of these Bond Street shows and stuff, I mean, I remember seeing like some like two-tone ska stuff in Manhattan, like going to those shows, like the Sharps and stuff, where they would like, have they would have those like two-tone ska shows, and those were cool, but that wasn't really anything I was really like interested in. I thought ska was, it was all right, and I liked it enough, but when I saw hardcore bands, like when I saw like, I'm trying to think of like a hardcore band that I saw that I was just like, God damn. Like, I mean, the first time I heard Quicksand Slip, I mean, that was one of those moments where like nothing's ever going to be the same. Like that's, but yeah, probably those Long Island bands, because I didn't really go to like a lot of like,
So back in the day, you never really saw any of the youth crew movement back in New York?
No, man, I was in the mid 80s, I was, I'm 44. So, I mean, the height of that, 88. I mean, I was skateboarding on Long Island, but there's no way my mom's let me go to a Sunday matinee at, Secedes.
Yeah.
He did like 3 years or 4 years later, oddly enough, but just not,
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I didn't see any of the classic bands until they reunited. I saw Warzone and stuff. I mean, I've seen them all. I've seen Sick of It All. I've seen, you name it, whoever got back together. I've seen them all, but
Yeah.
I wasn't there for like the early shit.
All right, my next question: all-time favorite punk hardcore show you played, but it could be like a few, because obviously all the great bands you were in. So the question, I guess, is like all-time favorite punk hardcore show you played in each of the bands that you played in. What were kind of the memorable ones for you?
Well, there's one show that Miles tells me this. I hope I'm not putting anybody on blast here, but Miles tells me that Jay Green always asks about this show, and I saw that Jay Green was in here. It's when Jay was in a band called All I Ask, and Secedes was on tour with Drift, and we had played at like the Old First Church in Philly the night before, and the show sucked. It was like terrible, and there was like no energy, and everybody in Secedes was like so pissed off because it was such a bad show. I mean, we played, but there was no energy, so we just didn't have a good time. So then we drive to New Brunswick the next day, and we play with All I Ask, which is Jay Green from Orchid's band before Orchid, and I forget who else played, but like it was a nice lineup. It was good. Drift played, obviously, because we were on tour, but it was a good lineup. It was probably like Storm Shadow or somebody like that, like somebody really good from New Brunswick. And I remember like it was in a basement. And that it was so tight with people, and we were so mad that Secedes just like went the fuck off. Like it was like one of those shows where it was just like perfect, and you couldn't even explain why. Like everyone in the band was as mad as this. We were all on the same level of mad, and everybody was just going like the fuck off. And it was so tight that like, I don't know if most people know this. Secedes had a lot of members. We had 6 members and sometimes 7. So there was a lot of us. And yeah, it was crazy. And it was crazy good too. It was just one of those shows you remember. But the best lineup we ever played, it's one of those fests, man. Oh no, you know what the best lineup we ever played is? It's probably that Locust show. It's like Black Army Jacket, Locust, Reversal of Man, us. I'm trying to think who else is on that flyer. Did I say Assuck?
Nope, but
yeah, Assuck's on that flyer. Yeah, played that show. It's like a ridiculous fucking lineup. And then you probably we played a lot of. As a band, we were very fortunate. We played a lot of crazy shows. I mean, Usurp played some crazy shows too, like crazy shows. Like I mean, some of the Jerome's Dream stuff, like that tour. We played with a lot of great bands. But yeah, probably a fest, because the fest lineups were just so good back in the day. They would put, I mean, that Wilkes-Barre Fest flyer that I posted, I mean, the lineup on that is insane.
Yeah. The Wilkes-Barre Fest always had some great lineups.
But, honestly, I know I might be taking too long at this. The most important lineup we ever played was that Tompkins Square Riot fest in Pittsburgh, because when we got booked on that, all of like Sasha was booked, Judas Iscariot was booked, we were booked, Closure was booked, and somebody else was booked. And I don't think a lot of people knew Millhouse was with us too. Like we all kind of like arrived together sort of. And I don't think people really knew what to expect of like the Long Island bands, or like what our scene was.
Yeah.
And when we played that fest, I think people were like, oh, like shit, like these bands are like doing something, and like if not for that fest, kind of like put us on, and I mean as like a bit of a scene put us on. Like people were like about Sasha, Judas, us, Millhouse, Closure, like they were like, you guys, you killed it. And we played that was like Puritan's last show. And I mean, you played Puritan's last show. Like,
yeah,
pretty fucking good. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, it's kind of like the Tin Can Fest. I didn't know who Seisha was at the time. I was like into metalcore and, you know, like I said, moshing and stuff like that. And I knew who Murdoch was, and I knew who Devola was, and Force Fed Glass, who had played that night. I
Yeah,
had no idea who Seisha was. I didn't know States of Seeds at the time. I didn't know who Portrait was, who played with you guys at that,
yeah.
that fest. And so somebody was like, "Oh, you ever heard of this band Station?" I was like, "No." And the kid was like, "What about States of Seeds?" And I had heard Jerome's Dream because I had seen them
Sure.
before. But
Yeah.
and then like watching all those bands at that fest, I say it all the time. It kind of turned me in a different direction, and then that's all I started listening to was bands like that. It kind of just, which I still love metalcore and stuff like that, but it turned me to like a fever of listening to all those kind of bands, and I never stopped listening to those kind
Oh,
of bands after
yes.
that fest. So it really changed my mind in the direction that I was thinking.
Yeah, I mean that's amazing. I mean, you know, just the fact that you would include States of Seeds in that group of names. I mean, I'm flattered. I mean, that's amazing. I appreciate that, and yeah. I mean, that's awesome that we were instrumental or helped you get into that sound. That's amazing. I mean, like I said, I'm very, you know, grateful and I appreciative when anybody says anything about any musical project I've done, because really, you know, you don't ever really expect to hear anything. So thank you, you know, thanks for, you know, saying that. That's amazing.
Marakate, what was your favorite show you played with them?
Oh, easily SummerSlam Fest in somebody help me out here from Maracate. Where was SummerSlam? Where's that at? That was insane, man. I saw somebody dress. I'm not even lying to you. This place was so packed with people that, like, I mean, I didn't think I was going to get out alive. It was so hot. I mean, you spit water in the air, and it would evaporate instantly. I saw a man dressed in the pit at this show. I saw a man dressed as the Ultimate Warrior suplex somebody. That I actually saw happen. It was so crazy. I mean, it was insane. Oh, Bleak Castle. That's where it was in Germany. But yeah, that's how out of control it was. I saw a man dressed as the Ultimate Warrior suplex someone.
I
It
feel
was
like
the crowd would like they would take me off the stage and carry me like around and then deposit me back on the stage. It was fucking nuts. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
there's footage of that
Yeah,
somewhere.
there's footage in the documentary, and then there's like a separate small just the show part of the documentary.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh wait, what is this? What about the Cape in Slovenia? Are you talking about the swimming pool? Yeah, I don't know what Brian's talking about,
Yep,
but
I feel like Germans are always doing some crazy shit. When
yeah,
that Tin Can Fest, Enfold and Chispa played, and somebody that was like friends with the band or something like that was running around going crazy with a tiger head over his head. Do you remember that?
no, but I heard a story that Enfold Chispa tour with Scott Biben like booked it, like from Bloodlink. I heard that like that tour was like they both those bands like had like an awful time, and I heard that from somebody that was in Chispa who was in Now Denial.
Oh, really?
And I didn't know that until we met up with Now Denial, and then we started talking about something, and then he was like, yeah, I was in Chispa, or like, and I was like, you played a fest that my old band played, and then he was like, he just told me it was just like a complete nightmare of a tour. So they toured with like a puppet show. It was like fucking like insanity. Like I don't know what was
Oh
going.
yeah, yeah. I think I
Yeah,
kind
it's
of remember
like
that. Yeah.
yeah, like they're like two poor German bands that didn't know what they didn't know what was gonna, you know, they just probably were like, yeah, we're gonna go tour America, and then they end up touring with a fucking puppet show. It's like Spinal Tap, right?
That's that's crazy. All right, I'll keep going. The next question: all-time favorite punk hardcore show you attended that you watched and didn't play, that you kind of went
Oh,
to and were blown away by.
oh, you want to hear this lineup? This is sick. This happened at a shoe store in fucking Oceanside. This show actually happened. So it's Anna Sarka, Palatka,
Oof.
One-Eyed God Prophecy, Half Man, um, I think Closure, and there's another crazy band on it too. That's just like some ridiculous other band. It was just like the craziest lineup. Yeah, it was that. That's one of the best shows I've ever seen. I mean, One Eye God Prophecy. If you never saw One Eye God Prophecy, I mean, they were so fucking heavy and they were so good. I mean, that record. It's unfortunate because that record is very muted and it is heavy. But for some reason, whoever mastered that record, it's just like not done right. The levels are fucked up and it's muted. It
Yeah.
doesn't even come close to how they were live. They were just like it was it was unbelievable. And if you didn't see Anna Sarka live, I mean, I got to tell you, and Palatka may be my favorite punk band of all time. So, I mean,
Yeah, that's a crazy lineup. That is crazy.
yeah, it was wild. There's even more bands played. I just can't remember them all. It was
Jealous of that lineup. Wow.
It was filthy how many great bands played it.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm a big movie guy. I watch movies all the time. That's my thing to kind of,
Sure.
decompress and do. I'm a family guy, so I don't get much time. I always ask this: what was the last movie you watched?
Oh, I'm trying to think. I mean, sometimes I just watch like stuff like I watched that New Mutants movie just because it was on. But I mean, as far as like actual, I mean, I'm a pretty big movie buff too. I have like I'm pretty big into like art house shit and stuff like that. I don't know, like On the Waterfront was on the other day. I watched that. I mean, that's how are you gonna not watch that?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
It's amazing. Oh, speaking of New Mutants, what did you think of that?
it was all right. I mean,
The only reason why I ask is because it was I enjoyed it a little bit just because it was off the beaten path of an X-Men movie. You know what I
sure.
mean? It had a little tiny bit of horror flair to it, so it was like, I mean, there was cheesy parts.
Yeah,
Cheesy
I mean
parts,
the bar is so low for that shit anyway that like I don't really expect much. So even if I'm entertained for a little bit, I'm like, it's not that bad, you know?
yeah.
Some of that stuff is just like unwatchable. Personally, I can't. All that formulaic like superhero stuff. Like some of it's good. Some of it that they take in nice directions. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't terrible, but I don't know if I'd be watching it again. But yeah, the horror element of it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it surprised me. It just surprised me. It wasn't just like a run-of-the-mill X-Men movie like most of the time you get.
I was a pretty big New Mutants fan when I was a kid, so it's a bit of a tough sell when they make a movie out of it. But I mean, it was all right. It wasn't too offensive. They got some of the characters right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was cool. Yeah.
My next question kind of goes with movies. Favorite all-time horror movie for you?
It's probably,
Or it could be one or two or
no,
three.
cool. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a Cronenberg movie. I just got to figure out which one. Is it The Brood or is it Scanners? I don't know. It's got to be a Cronenberg movie for sure. I mean, Videodrome. I mean, I just can't choose.
Scanners is really good.
Oh no, yeah, Scanners or The Brood is really like probably that's the tough one for me. Those two movies. I mean, if you've never seen those Cronenberg movies, please watch them because it's like he had a streak of movies. I mean, if you haven't seen The Brood, like watch that movie. It's so fucked up. It'll like your mind will melt. Yes,
I've watched every Cronenberg movie.
Scanners, your mind actually does melt. So yeah.
Speaking of Cronenberg, have you seen his son's newer movie Possessor?
No, I have not. No. Yeah, good.
If you're a Cronenberg fan, you have to watch Possessor. I don't know if you have Hulu. It's on Hulu right now. If you do have Hulu, you can watch it on there. But his son's doing some good things. I know he did a movie. Maybe it was like 8 or 9 years ago. I think the only two movies that I've seen his son do, Brandon, is I think there was a movie called Viral, maybe, and then he did Possessor last year. And Possessor by far was the movie of the year for me, definitely. So if you want to watch a good movie, it's very like different. You know what I mean? That's why I like it. It's not the same old.
Yeah, I mean, if it's got the name Cronenberg on it, I'm gonna watch it. I'll be honest with you. I mean, even his less than films are still pretty amazing films. You just because the themes in the movies are so like fucked up and unique. Like it's like I call it thinking man's horror. Do you know what I mean? Because there's so many like I don't know, just the way he goes about things and the subject matter of his movies and I don't know, like even his bad movies or less than movies are I still find pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, even not like when he stretches out of horror and kind of like a history of violence, that still was
Yeah,
like
I know.
amazing
Yeah,
too. Like he can go out and then he can come back in, and it's still
yeah.
amazing.
No, you're right. A history of violence, like that. Yeah, that movie's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send you the link for the trailer Possessor, and like I said, if you get any time, like I'm telling you, I'm definitely a fan of that movie. So if you get
Cool.
any time.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, thanks for hipping me to that. That's rad for sure.
I know you were talking about hip hop earlier. I'm a huge hip hop guy. I've been listening to hip hop for a long time. I've filmed a shit ton of hip hop artists
I've
live.
seen. Yeah, I've
Um,
seen. Yeah.
what if you've been listening to hip hop lately? What have you been listening to? And what do you know, whether it be old stuff or if you've listened to any new stuff that's caught your ear?
Yeah, I mean, I listen the Griselda shit's the stuff I listen to. I mean, like that's the type of shit I listen to. I mean, obviously Rock Marciano because
Mm.
he's the. I mean, he's the best to do it right now. But yeah, like Griselda, Rock Marciano. I can't think of too many things off the top of my head other than that. But yeah, mostly like that. That's that group of people for sure.
What
Yeah.
about older stuff that you still enjoy, like back in the boom bap era?
Yeah, I mean, I always return to that stuff. I mean, how can you not? I mean, I return to like all that stuff, all the tribe stuff.
Mm.
You know, a lot of the native tongue stuff. Yeah, I return to a lot of that. That was formidable stuff for me and my friends. I mean, even in our mid to late teens, I mean, a lot of that stuff was coming out. Leaders of the new school and stuff. We absorbed all of that. I don't return to Beastie Boys too much, but that was fundamental stuff. Yeah, Cool G Rap, DJ Shadow stuff, late '90s, Quantum stuff, and then they start, the late '90s, early 2000s. Then you start to get into all the resurgence of underground hip hop, and I was sold on that stuff, man. I mean, if it had Def Jux on it or it said Anacon on it, I bought it. I mean, I had all that. And I was like, I was an obsessive. So yeah, I was deep into the 2000s, underground scene for sure.
Yeah. It's when we talk about hip hop, it's sad that all, my heroes of hip hop are starting to pass away. I mean,
Yeah.
like Shock G, MF Doom. Like years ago, it was like Sean Price and Fife and Prodigy really hit me hard because those guys were so important to me. It like hurt my soul when I heard about their deaths. And I was talking to Billy about this too. I'm a little older, so
Yeah.
I was a Biggie fan, kind of, in Tupac sparingly. So I know everybody's always like, those are the biggest deaths of, and it's a tragedy. Like all deaths are tragedy, but those like Sean Price, Prodigy, and Fife and MF Doom, like those hit me so hard. And it's just sad that I'm seeing all, the heroes of hip hop for me passing away. Shock G, I mean, the guy was a genius producer on top of that. So
yeah, and I mean the Humpty Dances. I mean, they have many amazing songs. They're genius, but I mean the Humpty Dances, or I Get Around. I mean those songs are like brilliant.
Do what you like. I love
Yeah.
the beat of Do What You Like. It's like crazy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Sex Packets is like is a stone cold classic, man, for sure. Yeah, man, like Big L, Guru.
Yeah.
I mean, when Guru passed away, man, I was like, that fucked me up too because Guru was like, that was my dude when in like high school. I fucked with Gangstar like hard, like that. Yeah. That was one of my friends and I, favorite records was, well, all Step Into the Arena, all the records really. But yeah, I mean, hey, that fucked me up.
Daily Operation was that
Yeah,
might be my favorite one. Hard to Earn is great.
yeah, Hard to Earn's like, I mean, I think Hard to Earn may be Premier's best work, like as a record, and that's saying a lot because Premier. Think about how many fucking amazing records Premier's made.
Yeah.
Well, Mathematics is probably his best beat he ever made, but yeah. So like, I mean, Dilla dying, but I guess I mean, there's a lot of people, but lately, I mean, the MF Doom thing came out of nowhere, and that's crazy. I mean, MF Doom. That changed a lot of things for a lot of people I know, like just how he approached like beat making and sampling, and even how he approached rhyme scheme. I mean, he was on another level. The fact that he's gone is just like, that's a travesty.
Yeah, definitely. I was huge on KMD when they came out too. KMD and like Third Base when those two.
Oh yeah,
I was huge in that.
Huge to us. Yeah, I remember the Cactus album being like a huge thing. And yeah, like Mr. Hood, I mean, that record's
front to back. That record is amazing.
Yeah, how that record was not a hit, I don't understand. I really don't.
I mean, I think the only single really that hit was Peach Fuzz, and that was it really on that album.
Probably just didn't push it after that when it went nowhere. But it's unfortunate because that record's it's phenomenal.
It's genius. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, I agree 100%, man. And I believe from Long Beach, Long Island. I think.
I always wanted to see. I was like hoping he would come to the U.S. just once so I could see him perform live.
Well, I mean, I don't think he ever got his visa back, did he?
No, I think they were just they wouldn't let him back in. I know he was having trouble like the whole time. So I think after a while he was just like, fuck it, I don't even care about going to the U.S.
No, that's what it sounded like. Is that he was just done with the U.S. and that was it.
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy. Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
My next question: what was your favorite song to play live in Secedes, I Am the Resurrection, Maracate, and Usurp? What were the 4 songs that you like to play live? Your favorite ones?
I'm trying to think. I mean, my favorite stuff to play in Usurp is the songs off the split with Hassan Isaba. And I don't think I can choose. I mean, Wrist Meets Razor, maybe. I'm not sure which one. But I have to say, as a block of songs, those are my most favorite songs to play when I was in Usurp, because John was doing the synth dynamics he was working with and the timing structure they were working with. Those songs just hit me a certain way. Like when I hear those songs, those are they're my favorite songs. I love playing them. So I can't really choose one. Maybe Wrist Meets Razor, but I like them all because I don't know, they just have a special place in my heart. So I hope that's not a complete cop out.
That's good.
Usurp. I mean, Maracate. I don't know. Build a Bear. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, just something off the full length. The first, Build a Bear or one of those songs. Yeah, that I'll take that one. States of Seeds. Favorite song. Oof. Maybe Rodan, but maybe Pearls for Swine. That's tough, man. Yeah, Rodan or Pearls for Swine. Yeah, if I got to answer, I'll answer Rodan.
I love Apple of My Eyes. That's
Apple. Yeah, okay. Yeah, well,
that's my favorite song.
Okay, that's cool. It's hard to choose from your own music. Kind of annoying. I Am the Resurrection. Maybe Gauges. Yeah, maybe Gauges or Splice Film Smiles. Yeah, Splice Film Smiles. Yeah. Yeah.
And so my final question is: I know you were DJing, and you're like a funk DJ, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I play. Yeah, well, I mean,
or you just mix it up and do.
Yeah, I mean, I play records for people. I mean, yeah, I guess you could call it DJing, but I'm a little apprehensive with that because I know so many talented DJs that really are so proficient with technical skills, and mine are just kind of, I would say they're decent, but they're not I'm not gonna fucking move the crowd like you know, a scratch DJ. But what we do is like, you know, like you know, we have before the pandemic, my friends and I, we call ourselves Naptown Soul Club,
Yeah.
and it's my friend DJ Perrin, and myself, and DJ Chase, and we do a night called Naptown Soul Club as well as you know, call ourselves that.
Yeah.
And what we do is we play rare funk and soul 45s, or we play, you know, funk and soul 45s that are made now but they sound old, and we just kind of have like a night to celebrate like deep funk and soul and rare funk and soul, and we try to really, you know, champion the Indiana funk and soul history, because it's a very deep history, but a lot of people don't know about it, and a lot of these records are like really expensive records, and they're played all over the world, but people in Indianapolis or Indiana, they just don't know about them, and it's kind of culturally, you know, upsetting, and just we're just trying to inform people about you know, all the great music that came from this state. We don't just play Indiana stuff. I mean, we focus on it, so we're heavy on it, but you know, if there's a lot of new, we're living in a golden age right now of new funk and soul records. Like, there's more stuff that you can buy that, like, you have. I mean, there's so much stuff coming out that's amazing, and there's so many great labels. Like, I mean, Penrose, Daptone, Funk Night, just to name a few. You know, Preservation Project. I mean, there's literally dozens of great new funk records being put out right now. Yeah. So it's just like this golden age of that music, and it's amazing. And you know, hopefully when the pandemic's over, we can get back to playing records, because we all miss it a lot, and nobody stopped buying records.
Yeah,
so
yeah, exactly. If not, they probably buying more records because of the pandemic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we all have stacks and stacks of stuff for a year that we haven't played for anybody. So it's like, it's you know, and I love it. You know, that's sort of my interest now, is rare funk and soul records. It's not like my only interest, but I definitely caught the bug about that and really got into it. So it's definitely one of my hobbies.
Nice. And my final question is, if you've been listening to heavier music nowadays, have you been like, do you have any suggestions on something that people should check out now that you like, and any new bands that you're listening to in the heavy vein of things?
Well, I mean, I return to some of that stuff all the time. Like I go through phases with Sun. Like, sometimes I won't listen to Sun, and then there's other times where I listen to Sun like a whole lot, you know. I'm gonna say the same thing as Matt Gordon did say. If you haven't heard The Wraith yet from LA, like, listen to The Wraith. If you like death rock and you like gothic rock, I mean, the Wraith is incredible. So that's my recommendation to people, is listen to The Wraith. It's great. They're phenomenal.
Have you been listening to any like real chaotic stuff that you like, kind of like Usurp was playing? Any of that kind of stuff that the younger kids are playing nowadays?
I can't really even hear it, man. I don't want to be an asshole, but I can't really like listen to it anymore. It's just not like. I mean, I probably could. I don't want to shit on anybody. Maybe I haven't heard something that I like. I worry sometimes that, like, bands idolize bands so much they just become clones of them, and I think that's a very big mistake to make. Like, music's an eternal thing. It's like one of the gods, like the celestial things. Like, just music's an eternal thing. Don't worry about like what other people make. Like, make your own stuff. You could be a fan and you could take little pieces of bands, but like, don't just make a knockoff of a band. Like, you're not doing yourself any favors. You know, you're not helping anything. Like, the people who make new music, like, take pieces of Usurp and maybe take pieces of some other genres and make a new sound. That's cool. But like, if it sounds too much like a band I was in, or like, you know, it's too close to it, I just can't hear it. It just becomes like it'll like unlistenable, like Drac. So that's just my problem with it.
Yeah, I talked to some of my older friends, and they kind of say like a similar thing where they just feel like it's been done before, and it sounds like if they listen to a newer band, it sounds like okay, well now this sounds like this old band, like they're just trying to sound like that. My question was just because I feel like there was a resurgence. I always talk about this. It was kind of like, I think the community in the past 5 years and in the screamo, I guess, community, like, feels like to me, I kind of started getting into it more. It kind of feels like back in the day in the late 90s and early 2000s. And I think some of the bands now, I'm agreeing with you. A lot of the bands do sound like the old stuff, but I feel like there's so many new bands now that are doing different things and sounding a little different that, like, I feel there's a a resurgence of it, and the community is back to like kind of what it was. And that's why I asked the question, because there's so many new bands that I like all of a sudden, because I kind of, like, 5 years ago I wasn't listening to any new bands, and then I kind of was talking to my friend Ron from Pittsburgh, and he kind of like started giving me bands and stuff like that. And I just started, that's why that question.
No, I mean,
You know?
honestly, I have heard stuff that's amazing. Like, I heard this band called For Your Health from Ohio,
Oh yeah,
and it, like, I was like, damn, this is fucking great.
yeah,
So, like, it's out there. I'm not some old man who's like, it's not good anymore. Like, the bands can't make shit. Like, there's good shit out there. I mean, maybe there's just a lot of it. But yeah, I heard that band For Your Health, and I thought it was fucking incredible. When Billy was talking last week about that band Gloss, like, when I heard Gloss, I was blown away by that band. Like, I thought it was incredible. So, like, there's, and I mean, I just think it's out there. There's just, you gotta, just like anything else, you just gotta dig through a lot of stuff, and you'll find it. You'll definitely find it. Yeah.
it's kind of like do you like Soul Glow?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Soul Glow, another band that, yeah, incredible. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. There's good stuff out there, man. I feel like there's a lot of it, and I feel like I don't have my finger on the pulse of it like I used to. Like, it's got to come to me, unfortunately, and I'm not really going to it, and that's sort of the problem. Is I'm not as active looking for new hardcore bands as I probably should be. But yeah, it's one of those things, they got to come. It's basically got to come to me for me to hear it, and then. But I have heard stuff. There's great stuff being made. It's not done,
Yeah.
It'll have to be done. Don't any. I don't want to. I refuse to be like part of that. When you turn a certain age and you say that, like, nothing new can be made, or like the next generation can never make music and all this horse shit. Like, yeah, there's going to be great bands in the next generation. There's always going to be great bands. There's always going to be great music made. There's always going to be geniuses who emerge, and make incredible stuff. You just have to accept that, like, there is a next generation of people. You're no longer the youngest generation, and you're gonna have to, like, there's gonna be some good music that comes out of it. You should just listen.
Yeah, and the beauty of it is it's still like back in the day where you have to dig in the crates to find the gems. You know what I mean? It's that
no,
you have to put the work in to find these fucking awesome bands. And
yeah. I mean, that's everything, right? Like, that's every genre. If you're a music fan, you're not gonna just listen to the radio and be like, oh yeah, fucking Harry Styles is great, and this is what I'm gonna listen to. You're gonna be like, this sucks. I'm gonna go like find some other music, and if you were a true music fan, you're just gonna keep looking. That's what happens. And then when you start to get into a bunch of different genres, then you start to realize that all music is the same, and like they're all interconnected. And then that's kind of the secret sauce to everything, is like, there's no, there aren't any different mutually exclusive genres. They all mix. And if you understand music, like, you can have like jazz guitar in a screamo band, like kind of Secedes did.
yeah,
And like, I mean, there's a lot of, like, yeah, you're going to get rewarded. You just have to dig.
yeah. That's kind of like what Candaria was doing back.
Yeah. No, you're good.
Yeah, Candaria was when I first heard Candaria, I was like, "What the fuck is this?" I was like, "Holy shit!"
I didn't understand that band at all. I'll be very honest with you. It was over my head. I didn't understand what they were doing. That band's incredible, but I just didn't get it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, back then I did a little bit just because I was such a huge hip hop fan, and then like just the weird jazzy parts that they would
Oh,
kick in, like, and then all of a sudden that heavy like moshy stuff that they
yeah.
would throw into. I was like, holy shit, this band is insane.
I saw.
I saw him up in New Hampshire, and I was blown away when I saw him. So
Yeah, I saw them a few times, and I mean, they were a very it was a pretty intimidating band. They were good, but yeah, I just didn't understand the jazzy parts mixed with like the kind of the hard parts and hip hop
yeah, it was
mixed.
very very strange, but like for some reason it
For some reason,
definitely resonated with me.
yeah, it's very kind of New York in a way. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, I don't want to keep you too long.
Yeah, I'm fine, man. I've got time. If you want to keep talking, it's totally fine.
Um, I got maybe a couple more questions, and
Yeah,
then
that's great.
like I said, I don't want to keep my dogs are in the
Yeah,
crate
that's cool.
downstairs, so I don't want to keep them in there too long.
It's cool. Right on.
Um,
Yeah.
so I guess my last question would be like, what were like your best memories of all this stuff? Like, what was like? Do you look back on and think like, shit, this was like some of the best times I had in my life? What were some of the memories? Just was it like the friends you made? Was it just the community? Was it the hardcore shows? Like what was like really the most important thing to you back then?
I mean, I think it was like, well, I will say this. I think what I'll always treasure most is like that my friends and we found a way to do something that was, not necessarily easy to do, and we did it and met more people that were like us, and we didn't waste our youth. We went out there and did a lot of things, and we saw a lot of stuff, and we did it together, and it makes like this inseparable bond between people that just can't be broken. And when you make music with people, like that's a very special thing. Like, once you've made that together, like you trust each other enough to make music and like give into it together, like to let it to be free within it. That's a very powerful thing. Like that's not something that ever goes away because you've let your guard down together. You've shared your insecurity together and you've made something out of that together. And I think that's where the stuff I think about all the time is like that's the bonds they can't be broken once you've done that. And then if you experience things together, especially at a young age, you experience travel and you experience new things together. Those are always like that's a big memory of mine too, is that we were together when we did a lot of things for the first time, and that's powerful. We were there at the same moment in time, and I mean, till this day, all those people are my brothers. Like, if we went on tour together, and we played shows together, and we were there together, like that's a family bond that's never going to break. And I think that's the important thing out of it too, is that it's just a very special thing. I can't explain it other than that, is that I would never trade it for the world. I never feel bad about my age because of all the things I did when I was young. I'm not that guy who's like, I should have done this when I was younger, or like has some like 40-year-old crisis about his life, because I already did all that shit. Like,
Yeah.
I lived in a fucking van for a long time. I slept on some shitty floors. I drove through the desert, like with my band, or the band I was in. I did all that shit. I toured Europe. I stayed in squats. I lived in like hovels, but like I don't have any of that because I feel sort of relaxed about that. Like when I look back at that time, I think, thank God I didn't like
Like
go
pack it in
go
or
the
give
other.
up.
Yeah, how come thank God I didn't go the other route. Thank God I didn't think it was too great a challenge to do.
Yeah.
Like, you can do a lot of things in life, like later on in life, but you can't do that shit later on in life. So If you didn't do it, chances are at 50 or 40, you're not going to get in a van for the first time and like go try to play a basement somewhere in fucking Wisconsin. Like, you're not, I don't care who you are. So like, that's the thing, is like, all the shit that like I worry about is all stuff from like the actual age I'm at. It's never anything about like, oh yeah, why didn't I play in Leipzig, Germany, or why didn't I go see what the Pacific Ocean looks like? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, I like, those are my regrets, because I was in a few screamy bands, probably in and out of bands for 10 years or so, played a bunch of shows in New England. For the most part, we went outside of New England a couple times, but that's the regret I had. It wasn't like I gave up, but I just didn't know what the hell I was doing. You know what I mean? And nobody in the band kind of was like, all right, we're going to book a tour, like this and that. We kind of just stayed like in our own little area, and and nobody kind of branched out and wanted to do anything. And then it just folded after a time, which those are the regrets that I'm living with. I wish that I was like touring in a van and sleeping on somebody's floor. Like now being my age, I have regrets on not pushing the band further than what it was. You know what I mean?
Sometimes, yeah, but sometimes, like I said, like it's sometimes, I don't know, like you gotta all. It's very hard to find people that are all on the same page. It's not an easy thing to do. Like we just ended up being all. It was just, I don't know, just a luck thing that a lot of us just wanted to do the same thing at the same time. But yeah, I mean, I totally understand. Being in a band is not an easy thing, because it's all chefs in a kitchen. It's all cooks in a kitchen. You know, everybody wants to be in control and everybody wants to be in charge, and it's really hard to like wrangle everybody up and get them to do the same thing at once. So yeah, I mean, I hear you, man. Like you shouldn't be, you shouldn't have regrets about that. It's just like sometimes that shit's just too hard to do, you know?
Yeah. I just wish that we had gone further, you know what I mean? And obviously it was a couple other project bands where we recorded something and then played a couple shows and then it just folded, you know what I mean? But that's the main band that I was in. We played a bunch of shows and we just never like I said, we got out of New England a couple times and that was it really.
Yeah.
And, my last final question to you is, out of all the bands you've been in, do you have all of the stuff that you guys put out, like personally in your collection? Do you have all the 7-inches? Do you have the CDs? Do you have shirts from these you were in?
All right. So so this is, no, I don't have everything. And I often wonder why I don't have everything. So I have a Secedes test press, right? I never got a copy of the Secedes LP, like just a regular copy.
Yeah.
So all I have is a test press. I mean, I guess I could find a Secedes LP. They don't go for very much. I have a Resurrection split, but I never received a test press for that record, which pisses me off because somebody on Discogs is selling the test press for $100, and they're in the UK or something, and I'm like, how the fuck did the test press get to the UK and it didn't get to me?
Yeah, exactly.
So, Ben's giving me a hard time. I have most of the Usurp stuff. There's probably just a few things missing. I was lucky enough to get most of it when it came out while I was in the band. I have some Usurp shirts. People ask me about them all the time, if they can buy them and stuff. And I have hang-ups about that. Because it's hard to get rid of stuff that was yours, but
definitely
fit again. So I mean, they're like youth larges and shit. I mean, I don't know what I can't do shit with that. Let me see. Yeah, I have the Secedes shirt. I think I have patches from most of the bands, pins from most of the bands. So yeah, I have a lot of flyers. I kept a lot of flyers. So yeah, I mean, I didn't do a bad job of it. There are better and there are worse people for collecting the stuff. But I was on tour I was somewhere in Germany and I was wearing an I Am the Resurrection shirt, and the kid was like, I love that band. And I was like, you know what? I was in this band. Like, do I need the shirt? I was in the band.
Yeah.
Like, the day, like, does the shirt matter? I mean, I was actually in the band. So when I thought about that, I took the shirt off and I gave it to him. And I just, I was just like, it doesn't matter, you know, for me to keep the shirt. Let's fit in the fucking band.
Yeah, yeah. I asked that because my band, High School Sweethearts, I don't have the CD we put out. I don't have it at all. I have the MP3s. I don't have the CD layout, anything like that. We made shirts. I had shirts. I don't have any shirts like that. So that's why I always ask, because I don't have shit from my old band.
Sucks, man. I tried to keep it. I moved a bunch and stuff like that. So I did shed things like that I kind of regret, like maybe other band stuff, or I might have had some Usurp stuff that I remember I had a few copies of like the Orchid Jerome's Dream Split, and like, I just things I saved from tours, Witching Hour records that came out on those tours. Yeah, but if you move a bunch, you naturally go to lose stuff. But I have a whole bag full of T-shirts. My old touring bag that I used to take on all the tours. It's still filled with T-shirts. It's filled with a ton of band T-shirts. I know there's like a Reversal of Man, a Usurp, Republic of Freedom Fighters. There's like a ton of stuff in there. Yeah, it's like a time.
Like you said, youth largest. It's funny because you said that.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of T-shirts still, but like I was in that vein. I was wearing youth large shirts all the time, and I had, I don't even know, 30 youth large shirts, and now I'm like close to 200 pounds. So I was like, there's no fucking way I'm ever gonna wear these shirts. I'm like, what am I gonna do? Like, I know people make quilts and shit like that, but I was like, I don't even want to do that. So I just there was like a girl that I worked with that was like, a small girl. And I was like, hey, do you have any wants to, she didn't even listen to the music. You know what I mean?
Amazing.
I was giving her all kinds of crazy shirts. I was giving her like in Keflin shirts and like As the Sunset shirts and old daughter shirts when they first started. And she's like, looked at them and she was like, yeah, I'll take these. And then I gave away like 30 youth large shirts. And now I look back and like, I don't want them because I'm fat now. And like, but I hear the youth large thing that you're talking about.
None of these shirts are ever gonna fit on me again. I'm not even gonna lie to you, man. I'm not going back down to that weight ever again in my life. And that shit is just the straight truth, brother. Like it's not happening. But it's hard to get rid of them because it's like it reminds me of a time and place, and I know where I bought most of them. Like I know that Reversal of Man shirt is from the Tin Can Fest. I remember buying it.
Ooh.
Yeah, God, that Combat Wounded veteran performance too. Did you watch them there? I think they played that.
Oh, I had missed the Reversal one. You guys, did you guys play both fests? You played the first year was in Lawrence, Massachusetts.
No, we only played it once.
You
it was
played
in the warehouse.
Yeah, the space in Worcester, right?
Space in Worcester, yeah.
Yeah, but that was Reversal didn't play that one.
Oh, you know what it is? You sure?
No, they played the year before in Lawrence, Massachusetts. That year, I'm pretty sure that they played maybe it was either the year before or the year after.
I thought I bought that shirt there. I just for some reason I just think of that they played that, but I mean maybe it was another fest or something. I don't know.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that they both played that fest, but I think it was the year before or the year after that the States of Secedes played that show.
I could have sworn Combat Wounded Veteran played that though. I don't know. It's
yeah, Pete from Sinaloa put the flyer out. I know he put a Instagram page for Tin Can Full of Dreams Fest on Instagram. So if you haven't looked at that, some of the flyers around that and like some of the old videos from that stuff is on there. He hasn't got to the 98 show that you guys played yet, but he's on the year before that. So
that's cool. Yeah, I have the original flyer. I actually saved that. So, but yeah, I'll have to check it out. But
I might have bought the States of Secedes CD when you guys played at that show.
Yeah, actually, that was where we met up with Portrait for the That's where we started our tour with Portrait. Actually, at that show. So, and I think we stayed at the Jerome. I think we stayed at the Jerome's Dream House that night because it was like a halfway between Worcester and home.
Mm.
They were in like New Haven or Hartford or something, and I remember it was Devola, Murdoch, States of Seeds, Portrait and whomever else was with us. It was just a big New York contingent,
Yeah.
and we ate at Jerome's Dream House. So I remember that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much for
Yeah,
taking time out
thank
to
you.
do this.
It's awesome.
Seriously, I like, it means a lot to me to talk to like you and everybody else that I've talked to. Like, it really like puts a positive spin on my life, especially with the pandemic going on and stuff like that. I just like really am like, you know, appreciative of you guys taking time out to do this every week with me, especially, you know, all the bands that you were in. I'm a huge fan of. And
Thanks.
like I said, hats off to you, salute to you, and all the fucking awesome shit that you've done.
Thanks, man. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm honored. I'm honored to be on here. I mean, I really am really appreciative that you would ask me. I'm actually flattered. You've had some really great guests on, and I'm just super appreciative. And I think what you're doing is really important. I mean, a lot of the people you're interviewing really haven't been interviewed, and this is you know, there's a lot of, you know, gold to be mined out of these interviews. And I think what you're doing, especially in the time that we're in it, you know, this is a really great, like, you know, entertainment source for people, and it's really helping them. So thank you, man, for sure.
No, I appreciate that, and it like the nostalgia for people that lived back then, and
Yeah.
hear us talking about times like that, and then go, oh shit, I forgot about that show, or like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back and listen to this band right now, like I'm gonna listen to the Secedes album right now, like that's what's important to me, is I don't want these times to be forgotten, and I want it not documented, because I've always been recording shows and playing shows and stuff like that, but I feel like it's important to talk about these things, and I'm just glad that everybody's 100% into it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it seems like everybody's really enjoying it, and like the stories that are coming out. I mean, honestly, like on Matt's interview, and Billy was hilarious last week. So I mean, it makes me smile, and like to remember things that I had forgotten about. And I hope I did it tonight for some people. But yeah, it's like super fun to just hear the old stories and hear people just chop it up. It's a blast, man. Thank you.
I appreciate those kind words, man. I definitely do. Like I said, thank you so much for taking
Yeah.
time out, and and have a great night, and also like keep in touch with me, man. Like I'll send you that trailer, and I'll send you some new bands that you might like, even with the hip hop flair too and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Let's definitely keep in touch, and
Yeah,
you know.
let's keep it going. Yeah, let's keep it going, brother. Like, it's awesome. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
All right, man. Have a great night, and I'll talk to you soon.
Dude, take care, man. All right.
Bye.
Bye.